to the birthday girl. Happy birthday, Kristen.
Happy birthday, Kristen.
Yes. It is Kristen's birthday today, and she chose our topic. So,
She did.
in celebration of Kristen and her birthday,
It's a celebration.
yes, and she's like 32 or something today.
27.
Yeah. So,
I don't think women are allowed to go into their 30s.
yeah, I like them young. Sidebar. When her and I first met, she was 19 and I was 20. She's a year younger than me. But she looked like she was like fucking 15 when her and I first met.
Right.
And, I'm looking at her going like, I'd hit it, but is that legal? So we were working at a bookstore together, and I pull our assistant manager to the side the day she started. I'm like, how old is she? She's like, oh, I think she's like 18 or whatever. I'm like, go on. And yeah, it didn't really take long for things to blossom from there. But yes, happy birthday, Kristen.
Yes.
And this episode is in celebration of you. And that being said, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sidebar Cantina, the podcast where we talk about Star Wars, pop culture, birthdays, or whatever the fuck we feel like talking about. I'm Mr. Jason Roskam. With me here each and every single week, the Darth Vader to my Palpatine, Dave Martin. Hello, Dave.
Hello, Jason.
How are you?
I am well.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, we're back.
We are back.
We're back in New Jersey doing the show, back to our weekly...
Shenanigans.
Yes, whatever you want to call this. And
It's
yeah.
like we never stopped.
I wouldn't go that far.
It's time travel, man.
Okay, well, we'll get into that a little bit. But what are we talking about today first?
Well, in celebration of the birthday girl and allowing her to choose this week's topic, which actually made it easy on us because that means we didn't have to choose something.
Indeed.
We're going to talk about, how did we word this?
It's our 80s gadgets.
Oh, okay. 80s gadgets. Is that
Yeah.
what we put on the YouTube feed? 80s
Yep.
gadgets?
Yeah, so she wanted us to kind of talk about all of the little gadgets that we grew up with in the 80s,
Yes.
from video game consoles to calculator watches.
Right. Just the technology that kind of started in the 80s that blossomed into what we have today.
Yeah.
So, foundational pieces of what we have today, I guess you could call it.
Absolutely. So that is what we're going to talk about when we get to our main topic.
Eventually, because it's been a minute.
Yeah, we got to catch up on some stuff.
Yeah, facts.
So
What are we catching up on?
well, why don't we start with catching up on the Red 5?
Well,
The Red 5 network.
I guess we could do that, except for the fact that I don't.
Wow.
What?
Wow, he's not even prepared all
Well,
of this time.
No, so
and
here's the-
Alan from Press Play Streaming Studios is actually in the chat now. He's watching you.
Hi, Alan.
Botched this whole Red 5 intro that we had planned.
No, well, see, so Lunar Girl gave me all the stuff to read, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it should be for the end, because we should start with is how to find us on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, Twitter, the Sidebar Cantina, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we talk about our merch, which for some reason doesn't show up in this if you put it, the Sidebar Cantina and TeePublic's merch, search bar.
We're not
But
in
if
there?
Apparently not.
What
But
the hell?
if you click our Linktree link in our social media bios, you can find t-shirts, hoodies, a wide variety of designs, sizes, colors for the entire family. There are also Sidebar Cantina face masks, tote bags, phone cases, exclusive stickers and pins, just about anything you can imagine. Feel free to tag us with your merch so Lunar Girl can share it on the socials.
Yes. And you will do it.
Reviews. Lunar Girl is dying to throw stickers at you, which I believe we have a review.
We have a 5-star review. So to reiterate, if you leave us a 5-star review on any podcasting app, take a screenshot, send it to us. Lunar Girl will send you a sticker, and we will read your review verbatim live here on the show.
Absolutely.
So we have one.
We do, and we'll get to that here. Let me... what we should replace the Red 5 bit in the notes with the read.
Right.
Then, because that would be more appropriate. Because
Sure.
I'm reading what she typed.
All right.
Blah, blah, throw stickers, make it rain, blah, 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 blah. Leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcasting app. Screenshot it and DM us your pick on Instagram or Twitter. She will have your Sidebar Cantina stickers in the mail the next day. And It's capitalized in the notes.
He's emphasizing the capitals.
We will read your entire review word for word, just like Jason just said. It's that easy. You can write one sentence or an entire page, whatever your heart desires, and we will read it verbatim in whatever voice or character or whatever you want. As far as Red 5 goes, top stories, the Parsecs Awards are in the final editing stages. I know that in our team meeting before the show, we were finalizing what we're going to be doing for our contributions for the Parsec Awards. So stay tuned for that. There's going to be skits, segments, and a ton of laughs. So stay tuned to Luna Girls updates on the socials, and there'll be even more Red 5 happenings after the show.
Yep.
So,
and we have some more Red Fivers in the chat. We've got Matt Vader from the Salty Nerd podcast.
yeah.
So check out the Salty Nerd podcast. I was actually just watching them the other night. Nice. And I left them a 5-star review.
Excellent.
Because
that's what you do.
I'm a benevolent person.
Wow,
like that.
benevolent.
Yes.
That's wow. I would never pick you for benevolent, but okay.
I don't think anybody else would either. But either way, can I read this 5-star review now?
I think you should read the review.
All right.
I think it's a perfect time for you to read the review.
We have a new 5-star review. It is from Cam Ray Music. That so happens to be Cam Ray Semi-Productions on YouTube. He streams music every week, and he left us a review. So the title is Grab a Drink and a List. The Sidebar Cantina not only delivers fun discussions on all things Star Wars, but covers the spectrums of 80s and 90s geekdom. Whether you grew up in the era or not, everyone can feel at home at the Cantina. This is just a great podcast to keep on your playlist, and you can always guarantee you'll be both informed and entertained, and in a casual and welcoming atmosphere. So, thank you, Cam.
I don't know how welcoming we are. Are we welcoming?
Somewhat.
Do I put off welcoming? You know what's funny? Today, like, at work, we got, somebody bought us, like, these privacy screens for our monitors. And my area is, like, kind of out in the middle, like, of a cubicle farm.
Yeah, those things are helpful.
They are, if they fit. So we have these, widescreen monitors, and the privacy screen that they bought, they're like 4 inches too short for the monitor. So it's like, okay, and I'm not putting that on my monitor because my fucking OCD would never stand for it. There's no fucking way. So I ended up giving it to somebody else. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna allow my personality to keep people away from my monitor, so that fucking nobody will come near me. I'll just treat people like shit, and hopefully they'll fucking just stay away from me.
Hey, our planning shop back in our old squadron days, they had a pretty good reputation of being very not pleasant to people who came near them, and most people avoided them.
Yeah.
In time, so you can
carry
on that tradition.
Yeah. And Vickers brings up the fact that, I had a VFR hold line. Or actually, it was an IFR hold line in Standeval office, but that was for one particular pilot who fucking was way in my airspace. And
all right, are we done talking about that? Thanks again, Cam, for the review.
Yes.
In the interim, we have some breaking news. I'm just going to wait and see how long you go. No, so this just broke within the last couple of hours. Star Wars related news. Evidently, Lucasfilm is indefinitely suspending production on the Rogue Squadron movie. The Patty Jenkins led Rogue Squadron. This was announced, like 2 years ago at this point, where they did the whole virtual Disney, Lucasfilm, Marvel presentation where we had Patty Jenkins in the fucking X-Wing uniform on the flight line talking about her dad, who was a pilot. And
that, honestly, that little bit there made me kind of excited for it. Having that history and talking about, I don't know, bringing kind of a pilot vibe to it. It was like, I might actually be into this, because I was a little lukewarm to it before that. And now I don't know quite how to feel about this indefinite pause to it. It makes me wonder what happened. So
from what I'm gathering from some of these news sites, Patty Jenkins' schedule was just too jam-packed. So how do you don't make a fucking Star Wars production a priority on your fucking schedule? That's a good question.
Seriously?
I mean, she's got Wonder Woman money, So
really,
I mean, that's where she kind of got big, was
Really?
doing the Wonder Woman movies. So.
I
And probably other stuff that I don't know nor care about.
that is an interesting choice.
Yeah.
That is an interesting, like, oh, you know what? I've got DC things that take priority over this Star Wars fucking production that take precedence here.
That does seem like
That's a really
bad
good
logic.
way to not be involved in a Star Wars thing ever again.
Yeah. Though they are saying she's still involved, but it was mostly a delay because of her commitments.
I feel like Ron Howard is somehow going to get involved in this. I don't know.
He's going to end up finishing the movie.
I feel like the last time something like this happened, Ron Howard was suddenly involved.
Yeah. But I mean, I was honestly, I did enjoy that little teaser that they gave us with her on the flight line and everything, talking about her dad. But at the same time, I think I'm still kind of in a bit of a Star Wars movie hangover, to where I wasn't just that excited about it in general. And I think this is good. I think it's a good thing. Keep whetting our appetite a little bit. Keep throwing out all this shit that's churning out on Disney Plus, because we got a lot coming Star Wars wise.
And you know what? It wasn't a TIE Fighter movie, so
No.
I'm not that broken up about it.
Right. So anyway, speaking of upcoming Star Wars content, while we were on hiatus, we had a new trailer for the Boba Fett show, the Book of Boba Fett, which comes out next month, the end of December. And I figured we'd just kind of quick chat about it.
Yeah. So we have a new, yet another genre breakthrough for Star Wars, and now we're going to have the Sopranos.
Right.
Because that's what this immediately jumped out to me as, right? Mm-hmm. It's like having this Sopranos vibe to it. You know,
yeah.
It's like this mafia vibe to it, and also like I get a little excited, like, oh, you're gonna have some Hot Twi'leks, and you know, have a strip club involved in there. And instead of waste management, they're going to be fucking, you know, it's an interesting way to, I think, present this particular thing. Like, get away from the bounty hunting.
Yeah.
Right? Don't necessarily make that the focal point. Let's talk about,
because Mando's got that under control.
Yeah, like it's not really about that now. Let's see him trying to just manage the family.
Yeah,
you know, air quote.
He's a simple man trying to make his way in the galaxy.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really interesting, but I know that it did put a few people off. I know that.
Really?
Yeah, I read some stuff where they weren't really into the Godfather. Like, I went Sopranos, some people went Godfather.
Either way,
they weren't really into that vibe.
I mean, what do you want at this point, you know? Like, what else could he possibly be doing?
I saw everything from they wanted to see I guess they wanted this more of a story about, I don't know, something between two episodes, or you know, stories that really have already been told, or is such a small portion of the Star Wars story.
Yeah, and I know.
Tell us a new story. I don't have a problem with that.
And this is something that Lucas wanted to do back in the day. He wanted to do stories about, like, either the underworld of fucking Coruscant, or the seedy side of the Star Wars universe. And I think this is perfect for that.
How the fuck does Jabba the Hutt actually like get to a point where he can command so much territory?
Right, because he can't do it with just him and his fat body.
No.
He's got to have help. He's got to have his captains.
He's projecting power somehow without a standing army.
Yeah.
Right? And he's doing it in such a way with this mafia type rule. So let's see it. And this is not new for Star Wars either. I mean, honestly, like, this mafia kind of influence is all over the place. So we see Rebels, you know, as part of the Clone Wars. All
the crime syndicates and everything.
Yeah. So this isn't new. I like it. I think it's going to be good. And let's face it, if they have the same production level as they did with The Mandalorian, it's going to be fucking great.
Yeah. And did you notice Din Djarin has at least one voice cameo in this? Because there's, in the trailer, he's saying something. He's like, "Oh, I hear you've taken over the throne of your former employer," or something like that. You know.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, that's Mando's voice. So.
Oh, that makes more sense. See, I needed to watch it. Like, Nick had Big Swede. He had watched it. It was on one of them, like Sunday Night Football or whatever, or Monday Night Football. And they showed it, and he was watching it on the big screen. He was like, "Oh yeah, it came across really good." I'd only watch it on my fucking phone, on my broken ass fucking phone screen.
Right.
So I think I missed out on some of those smaller nuances.
Yeah, you definitely got to watch it on a bigger screen.
Hell yeah.
So cool. Yeah, I'm excited, and I guarantee you, at least the first couple episodes, we're going to do every single week here on the show.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
be ready for that.
Looking forward to it.
As I'm sure every other Red 5 show will be doing also. But you can get a
Hell yeah.
wide variety of opinions
That's right.
on that.
Hey, we're Star Wars podcasters. You will never run out of opinions.
Indeed. So you also wanted to put the Lightyear trailer in here because that came out
Yes.
while I was gone also.
Dude, I am super fucking excited for this. This is it a prequel? Or like,
Kind of. It's so because it's not they're not toys in this. So this
Right.
isn't Toy Story. This is the actual Buzz Lightyear
to the rescue
story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's got a lot of promise. I think it looks good.
It looks fucking fantastic. It's Chris Evans doing Buzz.
Yeah.
You know, so you're not getting Tim Allen, but you're still getting like that stronger voice.
Mm-hmm. I just hope, because there are a couple scenes in this trailer where they made him look a little on the goofy side, like a little silly, like bumbling kind of thing. I hope they don't really lean on that, because the Buzz we know is like the Space Ranger, and
I think they'll get plenty of that.
He's very serious and very...
I think they probably need to at least leave the door open a little bit for kids to be able to come watch this movie.
Sure.
So I'm sure, like, I saw a meme, I think it was this morning or yesterday, where it had... that one scene where Buzz walks up and it's the fucking, Buzz's spacesuit, and they walk up and it's in Mrs. Nesbitt's fucking tea outfit, right? He walks up to it. Mrs. Nesbitt.
Don't you get it? I'm Mrs. Nesbitt.
Let's face it, like, Toy Story was one of those movies when it came out. I was super, super into it. My son was like brand new. Like, it was right at that age group where he was like, we could kind of grow into the Toy Story movies.
Yeah.
And so I followed right along with it. Like, Pixar in its infancy, and then kind of watching Pixar mature into what it is today. I'm super excited. It is a theater experience that I want to go have.
For sure.
And I don't care how many kids are in that theater. Hopefully there won't be many. But, because kids.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, it's one of those things that we kind of grew up on too, so...
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be plenty of adults without kids in the theaters.
I'm sure. A good 10 o'clock showing for it. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Most of the kids will be at home. But, regardless, I'm excited for it. Hopefully, most people our age, like, I know the John, I saw the trailer, I sent it to him. I'm like, did you fucking see this? They're like, you can't consider yourself a good fucking human being if you didn't get excited for that trailer to come out.
You know what I kind of hope that they do with this also? Because especially going back to Toy Story 2, all of the Star Wars references and comparisons and everything, with obviously Zurg being Buzz's father. And
right.
I really kind of hope that they do lean in a little bit to the Star Wars themes.
That would be fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I would love that. Somehow get Mark Hamill on board. Bring
have
Mark
him be
Hamill
a
do some voice.
Fuck, make him be Zurg.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be fucking great. You hear that? Do you hear that, Disney? Anyway.
All right.
Anyway, super, super stoked. Good stuff coming forward.
Indeed. All right.
I don't even know, when's that come out?
Probably late next year. Yeah, I don't think it's anytime soon.
Motherfuckers!
It's been in production for a while, though.
Has it really? I had no idea it was coming out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I remember hearing about this like 2 or 3 years ago.
This is me hiding from fucking social media because reasons.
Anyway, before we get to our main topic, we do have one other thing that we're going to do, and that's talk about our week. Or weeks. Because, again, we've been on hiatus.
Yep.
So this is our first week back. We've got a lot to catch up on, and should I go ahead and get us started?
Yes, you should.
So, I went down to Georgia for the last 2 weeks. I was chilling in Savannah, Georgia, not partying it up. I was going for a cybersecurity certification, which is kind of part of my job, is to constantly get these certifications or get them renewed or whatever. So I'm down there for a 2-week course to get this certification. And as soon as I got there, I knew there was going to be a problem, because we're in the orientation that Monday morning, and they're introducing the instructors, because it wasn't just our certification course that they run at this place. They had a bunch of other like schools there, so they're introducing all the instructors, and then they get to my instructor, and I see this 65-year-old guy who really looks like he's 85, who's got a walker, like slowly stand up and kind of wave, and I'm just like,
oh dear Lord,
this is not going to go well, because this is not, teaching a simple subject. This cybersecurity shit is very detailed, very it's high level shit. And I see this 65-year-old man, and I'm trying not to judge him based on his age or his disability level, but I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna go well. But I'm like, all right, I'll give the guy the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's been doing IT since the 80s, and he's been staying with it this whole time. Who knows? No, that's not the case at all. So come to find out, this guy's a retired Army dude who has a small amount of IT knowledge. But the problem is, the guy who normally taught this certification course got COVID little over a month ago.
Fuck.
He got hospitalized, and he was still not fit to return to work.
God damn it.
So instead, this old guy basically tells the schoolhouse, he's like, oh yeah, I can teach it. I can teach anything. And they took him at his word.
Oh.
So they plunked him in there. It was a disaster. First of all, okay, so I mentioned retired Army guy. I know we have a lot of listeners who are prior Army, or might even still be in the Army, made some mistakes in their life and somehow ended up in the Army.
Right.
This fucking hua thing that they do with the hua, this fucking guy, every single sentence that came out of his mouth ended in huh.
Wow.
Every single sentence. SSH is on port 22, huh? And then you do LDAP on port 389, huh? And then this is a switch, huh? This is a router, huh? Every fucking sentence.
Oh my God.
And Army guys, I'm sorry, but that makes you sound even more retarded than the general population already thinks you are. Stop it. That is the dumbest shit I have ever heard in my life. And this guy, every fucking sentence, he ended it with that. And I was ready to start opening up some arteries in the bathtub that night.
Oh my God.
After one day.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was bad. So we get into this class, and it's very clear after the first day that he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's simply reading from slides. When we ask him any like detailed questions like, hey, so about that last slide, can you go a little bit more into detail into how that works? And he's like, oh, just read your book. Because they issued us these books. Right. And that was their answer to every question, was read the book, read the book. So by day 2, I knew we had a fucking problem. And this was a 2-week course with a very intense course with a certification test at the end. Some of these people needed this to keep their fucking jobs.
Right.
There was a guy there that actually outranked me, Chief Master Sergeant. Comes up to me on the first day. He's like, I'm retiring in 8 months. The only reason I'm here is because my commander wanted me to come. I'm not participating in any study groups. I'm really not even going to study at all. I'm just going to take the test and be done with it. Uh-huh. So that immediately throws me into like the de facto class leader role, because you know how the class leaders work in military schools and everything. So
oh my God.
Immediately I'm like, okay, I have to take charge. And I did. I took charge of all the study groups in the evenings. And by Wednesday of the first week, when we realized over half of this class was going to fail this fucking test if we didn't make a change, I'm in the commander's office every fucking day, talking to him, talking to the guy who's in charge of all of the instructors. And I'm like, you guys need to fix this like now, or you're already losing most of this class. Like by Wednesday, a good portion of the class had already like checked out. They're like, there's no fucking way. And I finally convinced them by Friday to make a change. They pulled this guy out, and then the guy who's in charge of all the instructors, come to find out he has this certification. And he's actually, good at teaching and instructing. And we're like, what the fuck, man? Where was this the last 5 days? So they made the change. Unfortunately for some of the people that we were there with, it was too late. Of the 9 people in the class, only 3 passed the certification at the end. Thankfully, I was one of the people that passed. But yeah, it was a fucking disaster. And all of this shit got thrown on me, basically, to sort of be the liaison for the class. And like, I got to a point that first Friday, where I'm telling the commander, I'm in the commander's office, I'm like, here's the deal. if you don't change something, we are not coming back next week. We're going to study on our own and we'll come back Friday and take the fucking test. But we will not be present in this fucking class if you don't change something. So that was kind of the battle I had to fight.
Is that a unit funded thing?
The travel was, but the course itself, it's a military course. So we went through the bedum and everything.
Dude, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
And you critique the shit out of it, right?
Oh, yeah. And I fucking told the guy, like, you should have canceled this class. When you knew that this fucking instructor wasn't going to be here, you should have canceled this class and told us to reschedule.
Yeah.
You fucked you fucked 6 people, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. No, dude. I've been in that situation, man, where you're sitting in that fucking class and you're the only person. And I've been the fucking squeaky wheel, and I haven't been the class leader.
Yeah.
I've been the fucking one of the lowest ranking people standing there going like, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
And you need to, you're all making us dumber as we sit here because you're a fucking retard. Mm-hmm. Like, no more. I did that in senior academy.
Oh, really?
I did that in senior academy. Our
Nice.
fucking instructor was full of shit. And I called him on it. Like, he fucking stood there, senior master sergeant. He's reading out of the book. Mm. And he's asking us to give an answer. And we're giving him answers. And just one after the other, we're giving him an answer. And it's not verbatim out of the fucking blue pages.
Oh, my God.
And he's just like, he keeps asking us. And finally, I'm like, what do you want us to say?
Right.
And he's like, well, I don't appreciate your tone. It's like, everyone that just gave you an answer, every one of us gave you a correct answer. Because it's not written verbatim on your book doesn't make it not a right answer.
Yeah.
It's like, you need to stop and actually instruct this class. Mm. I got a letter after, I got paperwork after that because I called him out in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And then when we got behind his door, I fucking laid into him. Mm. Like, dude, I know how to fucking instruct.
Yeah.
You know, what you're doing right now is not benefiting anybody in this room.
Yeah.
Like, and you need to fucking stop.
Yeah, I hate the way they do the in-residence senior, or the in-residence, any of the senior NCO, senior NCO.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
Courses.
And if you get a bad instructor, like, oh yeah, I can teach that. No, you can't. No, you can't.
You still have to have a little bit of in-depth knowledge. So, real quick before I move away from this, one of the things that this fucking old guy had us doing was he wouldn't even read the slides. He would have us as a class read the slides.
Oh, wow. Welcome to fucking 9th grade.
Yeah. So every time it would come to me, I would talk in my podcasting voice. Right. And I was quickly known on the first day as the radio guy. And, at one point, the chief that I was in there with, he's like, oh, man, you've got a really good radio voice. You should, do some kind of radio or something. I'm like, yeah, I've heard that before. The instructor said the same thing. So, but yeah, that was kind of like my thing. Eventually, though, somebody I was there with let the cat out of the bag, and she told the class, oh, yeah, he does a podcast. Which, by the way, Q, if you're listening, what's up, brother? I met a guy in my class. His last name starts with Q, so we just call him Q. But come to find out, he's a huge Star Wars fan. And I didn't find this out until the last day that we were there.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, we were hanging out at this was after we all took the certification test. He's one of the ones that passed, by the way. And we're just bullshitting. And this does not look like a nerdy dude at all. Like, he's like fucking 6'5", fucking jacked, tattoos.
Right.
He's got like fucking earring. He's got like the Jersey Shore haircut. He looks like he could fucking kill a dude. And he's like, oh, I fucking love Star Wars. And we spent like an hour at this fucking microbrewery, like drinking and just talking Star Wars,
nice.
Debating the prequels and the sequels and
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I told him about the show, so hopefully he's listening.
There you go. It's fucking Star Wars, bringing people together.
Indeed. Speaking of microbreweries in Georgia, I went to this one. It was called World of Beer, downtown Savannah, Georgia. I'm like, okay, microbrewery, Savannah, what could go wrong, right? Dude, I had like 2 flights of beer of 8 different, local craft brands, and every single one of them didn't taste good. They all tasted watered down. Like, because you know me, I'm like a big craft beer guy with the Iron Hill right here and everything else. And I'm drinking all of these and I'm like, this isn't good. Like, none of the beers I had were really that great. I tried all kinds of different varieties. I tried IPAs and lagers and dark beers and, whatever. And none of them were that great. I'm like, what the fuck? How do you mess this up?
I don't know. Maybe you're just a beer snob.
I think I am. I think that's what it is. I've become a beer snob in my old age.
And we have a really, we're blessed with a variety of fucking really good beers up here.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of the problem. Look, Savannah's a great party town. I don't know that they're fucking known for their craft beers though.
Yeah.
Down there.
Well, they won't be in my estimation. So
After today, definitely not.
yeah. All right, 2 more things before we move on. First of all, as anybody who works for a living has probably noticed with the daylight savings recently, which, I mean, it's the good one. It's the one where we fall back, where we turn back time.
Yeah.
And, you know, we get an hour back, but at the same time, it fucks the daylight up. Because now we are officially in the time of year where I leave the house when it's dark and I get home after work when it's dark. And that is fucking miserable, and I hate it. But this is our life for the next, I don't know, 4 or 5 months.
The fucking worst.
Yeah.
I fucking hate it. I hate it. Now, thankfully, I work in a job that currently, with our current leadership, we have banker's hours. So it's not as bad.
Right.
Right? But even with banker's hours, the sun is just at the right spot when I'm commuting in. So you get the sun glare going in, and you get, if you're lucky, which it'll be dark going home no matter what we do. But,
right.
If you leave early enough, then you get the fucking sun glare going home. But, yeah, there is this, like, couple days, though, like, afterwards. What are you doing?
Nothing. Go ahead.
You're just taking a selfie just now?
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, today, right? I woke up, and I felt like I was late. Like, oh my god, I'm late. I'm running late. I gotta fucking get ready, get my shit together, get out the door. I'm fucking in the car, looking at the clock in the car. I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm that late. Looking at my watch, like, that doesn't say the same. Fuck! And I realized that my internal clock was still on fucking daylight savings.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still running fast. And I looked at and everything else. So I'm like, oh, all right, fine, fuck it. The beauty of, okay, I'd rather be speeding this way than fucking the other way where you're fucking just naturally late.
Yeah.
So you get a couple days of that, and then it's gone.
Yep.
Anyway.
So yeah, we're into those days. I just felt like bringing that up because I always like to complain about it every year when we come to this time.
I'm right there with you, man.
Last thing, I just want to just say sort of a rest in peace to my Uncle Sonny. The first few days I was gone in Georgia, I had known before I left the New Jersey that my Aunt Melody, my mom's younger sister, and my Uncle Sonny, her husband, had contracted COVID. Mm-hmm. And by the time I left and got to Georgia, it sounded like it was not going well, especially for my Uncle Sonny. My Aunt Melody, she was pretty bad. She got pneumonia, but my Uncle Sonny got hospitalized, and unfortunately, he lost his battle with COVID. So, rest in peace, Uncle Sonny. He was a good man. My Aunt Melody really loved him. I feel really bad for her, and Melody, I'm thinking about you, and to Sonny, rest in peace, good man. Fuck this fucking pandemic.
Yeah. Just every once in a while, you get this reminder that COVID's still out there.
Yeah. So, well, that was my week's.
Way to end it on a downer.
I know.
Well,
sorry, but that's just.
I'll pick up my week on a similar downer note,
and then maybe like start working back up that hill towards the end. All right.
So yeah, unfortunately, my father had a heart attack.
I saw that in the notes.
Yeah,
that's fucking crazy. Is he all right?
He's okay. He's home now. I deliberately didn't want, like, I didn't send this downrange while you were doing all your fucking shit because it just didn't seem like something to get you spurring up down there, especially after all the stuff going on with your uncle. But yeah, so he was actually having a procedure done, and his blood pressure had spiked real high. He had got home from that, and then was having some chest pain. My mom got him to the ER. As it turns out, he was having a heart attack. So they were able to get him on the table. They went in, had a 90% blockage. So they put in a stent, and were able to stabilize him. And then he was able to come home a few days later. So scary bit though, because of COVID, communicating like when somebody's in the hospital is very, very difficult.
Oh, I would imagine, yeah.
So my wife wasn't able to or my wife, my mother wasn't able, like, she wasn't super responsive to like text messages and stuff. Like my sister, she's the one who texted me, like it was like first thing in the morning before I left for work, and she had said, hey, this is what was going on, and then because she had heard it from my mother, and then after that there was like no like nothing. We didn't hear anything. All we knew is that he was in surgery.
Shit.
Right? So for like 5 fucking hours, no clue what the fuck was going on.
Wow.
And it's a long time to not know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
is.
Holy shit.
And you can't. There's nothing you can do. Like because of the pandemic, like you can't go into hospitals. Like you can't like be there to and know what's going on real time. Like even if you go to the hospital, you have to fucking sit in your car. You can't go in a waiting area. Like, and even after he got out of surgery, like the only person that they let into the room to see him was my mother. So yeah, again, rude reminders of the fact that there's still a fucking pandemic. So yeah, and it just rude reminders of that, and then it's also that kind of it's just that little poke. It's like that little poke. Like, you know what? Are you fucking miserable today? You probably shouldn't be.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, is it really that bad? Is it really that bad today?
Yeah.
What's pissed you off today? Like, yeah, you should probably get over it. Which I'll segue into my next topic. So we had a little over a year ago. We talked about it on the pod when it was going on. Kathy and I, we redid our bathroom.
Oh yeah, no, I remember the story about the layers of tile and shit.
Oh yeah, God, what a fucking shit show that was. So we put in this like in the tub. We did this like I can't think what they're called.
Tiles.
But, no, we didn't put tile up. I put like the fucking insert.
Okay. Yeah.
Put the plastic insert in, and you know what? It was great for what it was, but it was not like. It wasn't really a good finished look. So, we put a bunch of money aside, and we're like, okay, we want to have somebody come in and actually finish the tile bit.
Okay.
And have that, because we had the floors done nice, and that if that piece gets done, then we can not worry about the bathroom for a while.
Yeah.
Knocking on wood. So, football talk at the end, yes. So we had a guy come in, and we really like his work. We've had him come do other stuff at the house, and the bitch of it is whenever we only have one shower at our house. So when the shower's out of commission with somebody like Aqua Dave, that needs a lot of showering, it creates some uncomfortable, and very cranky Dave.
Right.
So, again, when you're sitting there having that moment, like, should I really be upset about this? And you just kind of go, so, and there was, we had, anytime that you have some work done in your house, there's, you get issues like that. And it turns out I ended up having to paint, because unfortunately the contractor, it's not something that we negotiated with the contractor. So, I had to put primer on the wall, and then we had an issue with the shower, and the contractor had to come back the next day, so it was one more day I couldn't fucking shower, which was really fucking aggravating, and I'll talk about that more offline. But then we got the paint up on the wall, and now the fucking bathroom, it looks really good.
Yeah.
The paint, I actually did a decent job painting. Of course, now I feel like I fell down fucking 3 flights of stairs because of fucking painting and reaching and doing all that stuff. But it looks good.
And it's done? It's
done.
Bathroom 2.0 is complete?
Until I replace the vanity, because the vanity's probably going to have to be replaced.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever done, Jason.
I'm noticing that with houses.
If you raise your house and then completely build it from the ground up, there's going to be something. Like, you put the last fucking roofing shingle on thinking, oh, it's done. As soon as you get back into the front door, there's going to be something that has to be done.
Go back and listen to our episode where we talked about the money pits.
Yes. Owning a home is exactly that. So, anyway. So things that stress Dave out, bathrooms. check that off the box.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, good. Let's bring Dave's blood pressure up a little bit there. Then over the past couple of weeks, like, it's interesting, right? We work in these, we're still in it, but we're both still in the Air Force, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Even though I'm retired, I still work in this office
Yeah,
environment.
you're still part of the system.
Yeah, I'm still in the Matrix, and these kids, there's so many of these, like this younger generation that's in there, and it really makes me like really thankful that throughout my career I didn't have to deal with a lot of these problems, because these fucking kids, man, it makes me really appreciate how little I had to worry about my kids,
Right.
like when they're growing up, because my kids are now, like my youngest being 22, like some of these guys are 18, 19 years old. Like, it's a completely different generation than even my youngest.
Yeah.
And seeing some of the issues, like the kind of the interpersonal skill issues that they're having, and the way that they handle being given a responsibility, and watching 22-year-olds and 24-year-old staff sergeants trying to deal with an 18, 19-year-old, and just watching this interaction, I'm just like, fucking hell, man. It is really, really interesting times.
Yeah.
And I find myself very frustrated with very, very difficult for this guy, to stay on the sidelines and not fucking intervene.
Right.
Which I mentor, I do my best.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, fuck, man. It's really, really, really tough. And
Yeah.
God only knows what it's going to be like in another, like, I don't know, 5 years. When a whole nother generation turns over, and I'm going to be sitting there going, like, I got 10 more years of this shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So
Just wait when, as part of the uniform, you get your name tape, and then it's going to have your pronouns right above
Shut
that.
up.
And
No.
you better not call somebody by the wrong pronouns.
that came up today. Not for real, but it came up like kind of in conversation, because somebody said, like, I don't want to get into this pronoun conversation. It is a slippery slope. But yeah, nope. All I can say is that it is interesting times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
civilian GS Dave sitting there watching some of this stuff happening. And like I said, I'm taking my opportunities to mentor and give my advice.
Right.
But the stress level, again, it gets notched up a little bit. So, like, Dave, should you really be upset by this? Like, is this really your problem? No.
Yeah.
No, I have to repeat that mantra. Control your controllables, right?
Right.
Like, is this something that's really in my control? Like, can I really?
And honestly, it's nothing that's like even your responsibility at this point. This is something you can just be like, la 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 la,
Yeah,
and
I
it
could
won't make
be
a
like,
fucking difference.
I could be like that, but then
It's not your wheelhouse anymore, man.
I haven't. Well, see, here's the problem. That and I'm sure Vickers, who's in the chat right now, will tell you that I don't believe that I've sold this bill of goods as being that person
Right.
who doesn't, like, that'll sit there and go like, nah, not my problem. Like, I've kind of been the person that's been there to help solve problems.
Well, and honestly, I've known you for long enough to know that that's nothing you could ever do anyway.
Very fucking hard. It's very hard. Really, really hard. Sidebar. No.
No?
No. If Dave likes Star Wars, he gotta like Marvel. No. Absolutely not.
And coming from Bronco Fett, that's like, come on. You know he's just poking the bear
You're
at this
such
point.
a troll. No.
He knows better.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. This is no secret. From the very beginning of our show that Dave has not been, nor will he ever be, a Marvel guy.
No. Anyway, so last but not least, I'm sitting. I believe it's at work.
I can't wait to hear this one.
I'm sitting at work and I'm typing out a text. Right, I'm on my phone and I'm typing out a text, and I'm like da, 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 and I'm no. It was before we met up to eat.
Oh, it was that long ago.
It was that long ago, right? Invite guests to broadcast studio. No.
So this is like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
This is 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm sitting there getting ready to text John, and we're the John, Jason, and I. We sat down and had lunch right before Jason left for Georgia.
Yep.
And I was texting John something. I think it was about the parking situation or whatever. And I'm sitting there, and I could not remember Jason's name. I legitimately, I'm sitting in the restaurant staring at my phone, like the guy I do the podcast with. I can't. I've known Jason for like 20 years. I legitimately could not think of his fucking name. If I had looked at the top of my phone where I was making the fucking text message, I would have saw his name. I couldn't remember his fucking name. 10, 15 seconds, I just sat there in vapor lock. Just, I fucking, what? What?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I can't believe it just happened. And then finally, I was like, Jason, stupid ass. And it's just like, okay, like, oh my god, yeah, fibro fog, fucking old age, call whatever, but
yeah,
holy fuck, if that didn't like just completely knock me off kilter.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it.
I've had that happen to me like within the last year on a less severe level. It's been more of like the Packers and their quarterback, that guy who's the quarterback for the Packers, that guy. And for like a minute, I'm like trying to remember Aaron Rodgers' name, a guy who I've known exists for 15 years, and like for some reason it's just like gone temporarily.
Nick and I were having a conversation at work, and I forgot what I was saying mid-sentence. Like literally, like I was sitting there. I remember not finishing the conversation. I forgot what I was saying.
Yeah.
But then he's looking at me like, I'm like, I know it's gone. It's fucking gone. And I constantly, like, I don't know if it's because my brain's constantly fucking running.
Yeah.
Like, it's like my CPU is always overheating.
Right.
And I start losing clock. Like, I'm overclocked.
Yeah.
So, I'll get up from my desk and start walking a direction. I'll make it 6-7 steps. Have no idea why I got up.
Yeah.
No idea why I'm on that particular vector. So now I'm standing there. Why am I going this direction? Okay, I don't know why I got up. Okay, I'm going this direction. Maybe that has a reason. Maybe there's a reason. Do I have to go to the bathroom? No. Is there popcorn? No. Fuck. Like, and I'm standing there, and I know Nick can see me. I know he's just laughing his ass off at me because I'm like, I had no idea why I got up. Dude, it's fucking bad, man. It is bad.
Is this what we have to look forward to?
I hope not. I'm hoping this is just Dave-isms, honestly.
Well, because again, it's happened to me, like not as on a like such a severe basis, but it does happen to me. Like earlier, right before we started the show, I opened up my phone. Like 2 seconds later, I'm like, why did I open up my phone?
I do that all the time.
And you're like, for the Twitter poll results or whatever. I'm like, oh, right. So.
Yeah, dude, all the time. All the time, man.
This is the joy of getting older, I guess.
It's these fucking, just a slight sidebar. Slight. Because I gotta pee. If you think about how these computers work, right? These
For those of you listening to the audio, he's holding his head right now.
Yeah, these fucking this 2.5 pound, 3 pound fucking ball of fat that has all this electrical current running through it that somehow makes all this shit work, right? The same thing that'll make you like, oh, this has a tactical response, and yet somehow like blinking your eyes, you don't know that it happens. You know what I mean? Like the same thing that makes your nose disappear when you're looking forward, even though by any rights, like your eyes, the way they work, you should see your nose, but your brain makes it disappear. Like how the fuck does that happen?
Yeah.
Like you start thinking about these things, and it's just like all these things your brain can do, yet somehow when I go to stand up, I forget why I stood up.
Right.
Like, it's- bruh.
At least we're still running on autopilot. At least
Yeah,
our hearts are still going and our
that-
muscles are still moving.
Yeah, exactly. It's that midbrain is still working. It's the other parts that are probably been irradiated by all the fucking too much RF over the years.
Which we were exposed to quite a lot of it.
Oh yeah.
So
That and ionization from fucking being too close to the sun for too long and all kinds of good shit.
inhaling plain exhaust.
I'm sure that's fine.
Yeah. What's the worst that could happen? All right. Is that it for your week?
I gotta pee.
All right. So we will be right back with our main topic after this very quick word from our sponsors.
That was a weak snap.
It was. I didn't. There we go. Hold on.
Because they didn't earn it, Jason.
Maybe, but also I'm out of practice. So yeah, I'm out of practice. How's it going, Need Machines? What are we up to tonight? We get a little caught up on the chat. Oh, a lot of fibro talk. Thankfully, that's nothing I have to deal with. Dave, any encounters with any bicycle riders lately? I'll ask him when he comes back. Yes, I saw a lot of football mentioned. We save the football talk for after the main topic, so this way anybody who's not interested in football can just turn off the show. Hence no discussion about the 49ers or whatnot. Or fantasy football. I don't know what's been going on in our fantasy football league. I'm not even sure who the number one team is right now, quite frankly. God. Yeah, I have no clue. Sorry, I'm just getting caught up on the chat. All right. A lot of Red 5 presents in the chat tonight. Hello, everyone. All right. Fair enough. And that is that. And hello, Andrew, in the chat.
Woo!
The science fictionary.
Nice.
Good name.
Oh.
All right, my turn.
Oh my god, I feel so much better. The science fictionary.
Oh, you're going to have to sing for at least one of the Parsec Awards, by the way.
Okay. Gonna have to sing for one of the songs. Boo. Boo boo boo. I am super. I literally looked down at the chat and what was going on there? Like, it was so off topic. What did forgot to tell Dave? Just text it to me if it's an amendment to the post show read. Blah 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 blah. Catching up on the chat. Blah 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 blah. Retired Army guys do not rock. Retired Army guys are the ones that are fucking. They go to the gym, and they're naked all the time.
Yes! What is that?
They're fucking they want to rub their balls all over everything.
What is with the guys in the locker room? The old guys, too. They're like 60 to 80 in the locker room, butt-ass naked, just going
Wandering
about
around.
the day. Like checking their phones,
Wandering.
looking at stuff in their locker, walking
Yeah.
to
It's disturbing.
Yes, very.
I don't know. You know what? Maybe we'll hit an age where it's just like, you know what? Fuck it.
That's right. Here's my 70-year-old dick. Look at it.
It's an innie. Look at it. Well, Bronco Fett, you've never... A, you're not retired from the Army. B, you're not 60. So, when you turn 60, then we'll... Alright, so we'll have to theorize about whether or not it's a retiree thing, because if it's not, then it's just a veteran thing. Then okay, that'll be one part of the hypothesis, and then the second part will be if you're 60 or over.
Right.
And at that point, you just throw your leg up on the fucking thing and just have your balls swinging around while you're talking to somebody, talking to some other fucking naked 60-year-old. Like, dude, the fuck? Ugh. I got it, Lunar Girl. I got it right here. I am ready when you are.
Okay, I'm just lambasting a cheap-ass officer really quick. All right. Got my drink. Let me get the this or that up and running. Alrighty. Give me a countdown and we'll get going. The fuck was that?
I don't know.
Do it again.
How did it stop?
I don't know. You stopped it.
How did I stop it?
Can you do a countdown, please? A real one this time?
I don't know how I stopped it. Now I'm curious as to how it stopped.
And we're back.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Technical difficulties aside.
I don't know how that even happened.
I wouldn't worry about it. The audio listeners will never know. So,
subscribe to us on YouTube, by the way.
yeah, and you can catch all the weird shit going on in between.
You know, before we get started,
Okay.
we're at 393 YouTube subscribers, right?
Getting close to that 400 mark.
Pitiful. We need to get up to 1,000.
Okay.
I'm throwing a gauntlet down right now.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get to 1,000.
Okay.
On the YouTube subscribers. I don't care what we have to do.
Dave will suck your dick
No.
for 1,000 subscribers.
I do care. I care about. I will not be sucking any dick.
On the way to
Jason,
the
on the
party.
other end, might. But
I prefer hand jobs, you know.
Jason will give hand jobs.
Yeah.
Not very good ones, because he needs his shoulders.
Well,
a
yeah,
little
my
jacked
shoulder's
up,
still fucked up, you know, it's...
and he's not left-handed. But whatever we have to do to get to 1,000, like this is. I want by the end of this year. 2021 has been very. But I think we can finish 2021 on a high note and get to 1,000.
1,000 subscribers. Okay. I mean, we can give it a shot.
I think we can do it.
That's a tall order. We're gonna have to do some crazy shit though to get some attention.
I can do crazy.
All right. Well, we will we'll discuss it further, and we will let you guys know how we will be sucking dicks or what mukbang we will be performing to get these subscribers.
That's got to be a bad name. Sad hand job has got to be a bad name.
Yeah. We need to trademark that. Sad hand job.
Hang on, let me go.
Is now property of the Sidebar Cantina.
Go daddy right. No, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. Never mind. I'm not going to do that.
All right, whatever.
I'm not going to Google sad hand job because that's...
All right, can we get to our main topic, please?
Yes.
All
do
right.
that. Before the internet.
So every week on the show, we do a segment called This or That, where our social media director, Luna Girl, puts up a poll on our Instagram. And what is our Instagram, Dave?
At the Sidebar Cantina.
That's right.
Woohoo!
And she gives you two options. You pick one, and we discuss the results here on the show. Because of the nature of this main topic, we have decided to move This or That to the beginning of the main topic because we're going to kind of talk a lot more about some of these individual items. So we figured we'd wrap it all up into the main topic itself. And let's get started. So we're talking about 80s gadgets. And again, chosen by my lovely wife, Kristen, whose birthday is today.
Yes, happy birthday.
Yes.
That's a celebration.
It's a celebration.
So we're doing a show.
And let's start off with how you used to listen to your sweet cassette tapes, be it the Sony Walkman or a standard tape deck.
I think we know the answer to this.
Do we, though? Because yes, a majority of people pick the Walkman.
Yes.
88% wise.
I had a Sony Walkman, and I've talked about it a lot on the show when we talked about early listening. Excuse me. I was an early adopter. I got it for Christmas. The Sony Walkman. I had the original one with the fucking strap. Like, so it didn't have. If this is before the fucking belt clip. That you could get. Like, the belt clip, when that came out, was like, oh my god, look at the advancement on this thing. Right? I had a fucking strap that went around, and I had my ripped copy of Billy Joel Piano Man fucking blaring away on that thing.
Nice.
And yeah, the fucking Sony Walkman.
So, my mom was a big music person. She had a lot of cassette tapes, and she had a pretty nice cassette player in my house growing up. But when I got to a point where I started appreciating music more myself and I wanted to listen to like my own shit and get my own stuff, I actually ended up with a tape deck. And I can remember my birthday in 1987 getting my first tape deck. And you know what that first cassette was that I got with that? The soundtrack to La Bamba. Because I fucking loved La Bamba, and I loved that soundtrack, and I was really into it at that time.
Right.
Because that movie had just come out that summer. So I got the fucking tape deck, and I got fucking La Bamba, and me and my cousin Jeff, who was also really into La Bamba, we just fucking listened to La Bamba, the song, like, which was the first track on the soundtrack, over and over again, to the point where that day that I got that fucking cassette player, I broke it, and it fucking ate the tape. So my mom actually ended up having to go back and return that, and she brought me back a Sony Walkman.
Wow, see, there you go.
Yeah.
So, funny story about the tape deck, right? My grandfather, who was an attorney, and he used to record like depositions and like his notes and stuff for cases. Like, he had tape decks everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? My grandfather was super, super techie. And when we talk about 80s gadgets, I'm going to refer to my grandfather a lot because he was very foot forward on a lot of this technology.
Well, so is your dad, right?
Yeah. But, I mean, whereas my dad might be, for some stuff, my grandfather was like, my dad was out of necessity. My grandfather would do it just because, like, hey, this is new. Let me get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, because there were plenty of those people in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like those early adopters of, like, CDs and things like
All
that.
right. So my grandfather, because he used the tape decks so much, he had them all over the place. Like, so much so that, like, my daughter Kate actually has, like, one of his old... like the pictures that were in this or that, like that picture of that tape deck, like basically she has one of those that was my grandfather's.
Nice.
Because he would have them laying around all the time. There'd be like underneath the car seat. So if he needed to take notes or something, or something popped into his head, and this is before they had the micro cassettes.
Right.
Right, where he would just have it in his suit pocket, and he had a billion of those too. Right, he just pop out the tape deck and go for it, and they took like fucking, I don't know, 8D batteries. There was like some insane amount of batteries in it.
Right.
And they fucking corroded like almost instantaneously. Like, you couldn't leave batteries in it for more than a fucking week, or it would try and melt itself.
Yep. So just really quick, I wanted to point out in the comments, Scott from Used and Abused said that La Bamba and Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction were his first two compact discs.
Nice.
So that's awesome, Scott. Good story. Yeah. Oh my God. Bronco Fett said his first cassette that he bought himself was the Dark Force Rising audiobook.
Nice.
I had that exact same one. It was not my first cassette, but I did have that.
That's awesome.
So, very cool.
Did I ever own an audiobook on cassette? I don't think
The only thing I ever owned was that Star Wars one for cassettes.
I don't think I ever did.
I didn't get back into audiobooks until like fucking recently.
Yeah, like 2 years ago.
Right. So, anything else on those two specific cassette players? We'll get into other types of like music players and everything else as we get going. But so talking about calculators, there was the Little Professor calculator, which I'll just show you the picture just to kind of refresh your memory. The Little Professor guy it's a big fucking calculator with the dude with the fucking mustache and the glasses, or the fucking Casio calculator watch.
The watch.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we just talked about this a few weeks ago, where I was talking about my calculator watch.
Oh yeah.
Having one.
Oh yeah. No, I fucking, as soon as I saw this, because I remember being in elementary school, probably like third grade, I think it was, when these things first fucking came out. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to have one of those. Because this is when we were starting to get into like multiplication and division and shit in school. I'm like, oh my God, I got to get one of these. And I, can do the shit. And a bunch of like knockoffs started to come out and everything over the years. And I think at some point I finally convinced my mom in like 3rd or 4th grade to buy me a calculator watch. I don't know if it was the Casio one specifically or one of the knockoffs, but I finally got one.
Yeah, I don't know if mine was a Casio one either, but I had one.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't think it was waterproof.
Oh.
And I think I ruined it because I think I wore it like in scout camp or something and swam in it and fucking destroyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
because back in those days, like we kind of take for granted, right? That things, almost anything you buy, it has some sort of like, it's ruggedized. Mm-hmm. Things are waterproof. Like your phones are at least splash proof.
Yep.
The original Apple Watches, they didn't really want you to get them wet, but now you can pretty much get them wet. Like most things now, you could get wet and you're not going to necessarily ruin it.
Yeah, whereas back in those days, not so much.
That watch is like, nope.
Yeah.
As soon as moisture got near it, you were fucked.
And of course, I had all these like delusions where I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna have this watch on anytime I need to do any kind of math. I'll just fucking plug it into this watch. Never happened. I don't think I ever really had a practical use for it because when we would have math tests in class in like 3rd or 4th grade, they'd fucking confiscate all of our shit.
Yeah, used just said the same thing.
Yeah. And one of the days when we had a test and the teacher confiscated anybody's Apple Watches or calculator watches.
You lived in California. I mean, that
right.
could have had Apple Watches.
Well, one day somebody came in and stole all of them. And my fucking calculator watch was stolen and we never found out who it was.
No shit.
Yeah. And yeah. So I didn't have another calculator watch after that.
Enterprising young
Probably.
Bakersfield
Yeah,
kid.
I mean, yeah, it was like a town full of white, poor trash. So, I had a pretty good feeling who it was, but there was no way to prove it. I mean, they pulled us all out. They inspected everybody's desks.
Wow.
It was a whole big ordeal, but they never found out who did it. It's kind of fucked up.
I never even saw one of those professor things.
I
knew
did.
They existed.
Oh yeah, no, I would see people with them. Like I'd have cousins who would have it. This is gonna come up a lot too. Like I always had cousins who had some of the shit that we talk about. So, but yeah, no, it was all about the calculator watch for me. The next one, entertaining ourselves for hours with a Simon or the computer chess.
Yes, remember we're talking about this or that, folks. Not about masturbating.
Right. That didn't come first.
Choices?
So the Simon, like the Simon Says, with the 4 fucking colored lights.
Yep.
They had to press an order, or the computer chess, the chessboard that had the push buttons, where when you basically would make the moves for your opponent, but it would be an AI and you'd make your moves.
Yeah. So we had a Simon in our house, and I remember distinctly it was in our. This is the shit I can remember, not my podcast co-host name. In the coat room, in the coat closet, it was by the front door, like in the shelf is where the Simon was, and every once in a while we'd get it out to play. But what was fucking freaky about it is as the batteries were like dying, it would start chirping and making noise all on its own. So you could be sitting there watching television like you're watching Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy or something, and all of a sudden Simon's in the fucking closet making noise.
Yeah.
And freaks you the fuck out. So you have to go in there and fucking pop the batteries out of Simon. But every once in a while you can take it out and play it. And it was honestly, it's a good... Oh, fuck! Damn it! Oh, I had a thing at the house I was supposed to bring. Fuck. Anyway. Damn it.
So, the funny thing about the Simons, too, is they were sort of a precursor to the things like the Bop It. Like, we got the Chewbacca Bop It up there.
Yeah, so...
And it's been a thing ever since. It's not like it's gone away.
The Bop It is exactly what made me just go, ah! Because my mother-in-law bought a Grogu fucking Bop It.
Oh, get the fuck out.
Yeah, and it's sitting in the fucking kitchen right now. I should have put it in my bag. I'll have it for next week.
Oh,
God damn it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway, finish my thing about the Simon. Really good for, like, memory.
Yeah.
Working on your memory and your fucking, and pattern, recognizing pattern and shit like that.
Well, and when it got to the higher levels and it was going, and you're like, fuck.
You felt like you were in fucking, Close Encounters.
Yeah. So the Simon was one of those things that like a cousin or a friend would always have that I never actually had it in my house. But it was always fun to like bust out whenever whenever you kind
I
of
was never
had that.
played it as anything but a single player though.
Right.
I never played it with.
Yeah, like the commercials. I remember the TV commercials, and it was like a family of four sitting
Right.
around, and they would all press their own button
That'd
in
be
sequence.
really
And
fucking annoying. I mean,
Yeah.
get,
get your shit together, Mom.
yeah,
Fuck.
beat it, nerd. God
Yeah.
damn it.
But for me, I had the computerized chess.
Did you?
Yeah, the electronic chessboard. That you had your pieces. You would press the button for the piece that you were about to move, and you would press the button to where you would move it to, and then the computer would be like, "All right, I want to move this piece," and you'd move it to the next fucking spot. And it was, for somebody who was really getting into chess in my early teen years, it was fucking awesome to actually have that, because unlike a video game chess or something like that, it's something you could visualize. Like you had that fucking board in front of you, and you could look at the board state and everything else when you're playing like something like Chessmaster on the NES, which I also had.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite the same.
So, all right, this is gonna sound really really bad, and sound super elitist, but I'm gonna say it anyway. My father and his brothers and my grandfather, like they all were like super. When I sat down and like we played chess, like on like Sundays, we always had a gathering at my grandparents' house, after church, and they had multiple chessboards in the house set up. Like some of them are like super nice, like mahogany ones, with marble chess sets with nice wooden pieces and stuff like that. And sometimes you'd have games that would continue on for like from one week to the next. And this is how I learned to play chess, was versus people that were really really good at it.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the opportunity to do like the electronic versions like that. I've seen it. My grandfather actually had a board like that, but I wasn't allowed to use it.
Oh.
I think because it would have created bad chess habits.
You think so?
According to the people that were teaching me how to play. And we've talked about this before, like, and I know one of the last times you were back in California when you were talking about playing chess.
With my brother, yeah.
Yeah, I really want to get back into playing because I think my memory needs a little strategic workout.
It makes you think, especially when you're playing with somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing.
And I haven't, like, I've forgotten so much about the game. And I think generally speaking, like, even Jeff, my son Jeff, he plays online into like ranked stuff, and I think there's so much more awareness of like different moves and stuff like that. If you weren't playing against people that were like really knowledgeable in chess and weren't in like chess clubs, like you figure people like our parents' ages, like my uncles and my father, like they had chess clubs, like legit chess clubs, and they were learning the game like with certain moves and everything else, and
like different openings and styles, and
So, and unfortunately, I learned that stuff as a matter of like this is how you play, not necessarily like in a. It was it turned into this conglomeration in my brain. So like I don't know counters very well.
Right.
Like I'm too busy analyzing the board and not necessarily applying a certain strategy. So I'd like to get back into chess.
Yeah.
Maybe electronic board would help that.
Well, but now
they still make them.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they do. But now, obviously, there's like apps on your phone and everything else, and we're gonna kind of touch on the things that our phones have replaced in these lists at the end. But just to kind of put
everything.
Yeah, put a bow into this one. Simon won 75% to 25%. All right, so computers in the 80s. We have the IBM computer versus the Macintosh.
Right.
This was something that nobody I knew had. I didn't know anybody that had a computer except for one uncle who didn't even live in the same town that I lived in. I went to visit them once, and he had, I want to say it was an IBM, but I honestly don't know for sure. But all I know is he had like fucking hundreds of like pirated video games. Again, this was like mid 80s, so think about whatever video games were out there in the mid 80s. But otherwise, like I had no visibility on either of these early computers back in the day.
So we had. My grandfather had, let me rewind. We had Commodores. Like we had a Commodore VIC-20, and then kind of we had that in the house. My dad had, let's see, the first computer we had in the house was a 386.
Okay.
So I don't know what year that was. It was still in the 80s.
Well, yeah. Well, that was probably like early 90s because our first computer was a 486 in 1993 or 4.
When did the 386 come out?
Yeah. So you're probably looking around 1990, 91-ish. Dave's Googling it live.
Yes.
Because that's what we do. We do it live.
Yeah, so I think you're right. Like, I think it says 91. Yeah.
Bam! Look at that shit.
Which makes sense. So we had a computer.
I wonder if there's anything else I'm really good at, like something else besides like making calls like that, like what year computers came out, like somewhere else where I'm ranked number 1. I don't know. We'll talk about it later. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it's probably not really relevant to anything.
Probably not.
This is the wrong thing. Anyway.
So you had a 386 in your house.
We had a 386. That's the first one I remember. My grandfather had the Tandy series. Like, I don't know if you remember the Tandy computer.
I've heard of it, but I don't know if I ever saw it.
He had those, like, we had those definitely in the mid to late 80s. It was more of a word processing machine than a computer for real, but it had external floppy drives and everything like that, so you could still run external programs on it.
Well, and that's the thing. We're talking in an era in computing where, you know, before you even booted the computer, you figured out what program you wanted to run. You put that fucking disk in. Then you'd fire up the computer, and it would just load up whatever was on that fucking disk.
Yeah, because it didn't necessarily have all this internal storage.
Yeah, there was no operating system to speak of. It would boot up whatever you put in.
Yep, you were booting off of DOS and
yeah.
So Macintosh was something they had at school. We never had. The first Macs I ever saw were at school.
Okay,
and that wasn't until like probably, honestly, might have saw one in high school, maybe in the 90s.
Yeah, no, they were pretty rare in my life too. Yeah. So. Like, I don't know, the first time I can actually remember seeing and touching and using a Mac was when the iMacs came out in, like, the late 90s. Remember when that was a big thing with the fucking, like, a million colors and...
Oh, listen,
you were the Compicom guy, so...
Yeah. Do you want an iMac?
From that era? I guarantee you the birthday girl wants one of those.
Like the CRT version?
Where it's all like basically it looks like a monitor, but the computer's inside too. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, she's wanted one since then. So
really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Do you have one?
I can make that happen.
Get the fuck out.
I know where there's 3 in pristine condition.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Different colors?
Green.
Okay.
They're all green.
She does. That is her favorite color.
There you go.
Wow.
I can make this happen, Jason.
All right. I mean, you would make somebody very happy if you could do that.
Okay.
So, all right. Anyway, IBM won 54% to 46%.
Yeah, and Macs were crazy expensive in that. Days too.
Still are. All right. So, talking about where we would do our shopping. Radio Shack versus the Sears Wish Book.
Radio Shack. I loved Radio Shack.
Yeah.
That place was the fucking best. Because I was one of those kids that got those build your own radio kits all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so like, oh, here's this board and you can put these resistors on there and like, you know, build these little circuits and shit like that. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I would go in there and I just would buy random shit. And, oh, here's this little RC car. Like, oh yeah, buy RC cars and play with this shit and little TVs. And dude, Radio Shack was the best. I loved it. That was the shop in the mall that I was like always hoping that if I was dragged into the mall, that at least we could go into Radio Shack.
Right.
You know, I know we were never going to get into the arcade, but if I can get into Radio Shack for a few minutes, then I could at least, you know, enjoy myself for a moment.
Yeah. So the funny thing for me in Radio Shack is I didn't really grow an affinity for it until like 8th grade, middle school kind of thing. Because I took like a shop class and a robotics class kind of like back to back. Right. It was same teacher, same classroom and everything. But yeah, before that I had like no visibility on Radio Shack or
really?
Like, the greatness that that was contained within.
Oh my god.
So that wasn't until like the beginning of the 90s when I became aware of Radio Shack and how cool it was back in the day.
I want you to Google right now. All right, I'll tell you how spoiled I was.
All right, we're doing this live.
Google Radio Shack Armatron.
Armatron, just like it sounds?
Yep. That first one right there.
Yo.
I had that.
I saw, as I was doing research for this topic, I would see this listed, like the Radio Shack Armatron.
Yep. I had the Armatron. And you know what? It's something that
you can have one for $27 right now on eBay.
90% working.
That's
$27.
That's very precise. 90%.
90% working. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But it basically, the Armatron was a robotic arm, and I fucking loved that thing.
Yeah.
It was a great toy. It really was. Mm-hmm. It was so simple, but you felt like such a super nerd when you were using it. You felt like you could be a mad scientist when you were fucking playing with it. It was great.
I'm gonna share my screen really quick so the YouTube audience can see what you're talking about here. But yeah, that is the Armatron from Radio Shack.
Yeah. Yeah, Radio Shack was the tits, man. I love that store. I was so sad when it went away.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of things like, again, my grandfather, there was a Radio Shack down the street from his house, and whenever he needed something, like a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about here, he would go to Radio Shack first.
Yeah.
Right? Cell phones, fucking batteries, like all that shit. His first stop would be the Radio Shack. So if he needed a watch battery or a fucking battery for anything, we'd be in Radio Shack. So I'm like, okay. So in my brain, my muscle memory is like, oh, I need this weird battery. Let me go to Radio Shack. And again, muscle memory being what it is, I was going towards the Radio Shack that I'm like, well, there should be at least one Radio Shack around. Let me go to the one where I'm familiar with. And of course it's not there anymore.
Right.
Like, God damn it. There's like, it's not a thing anymore.
Yep. So real quick, because I didn't have that kind of exposure to Radio Shack, I was very familiar with Sears. Sears was like a big thing, in the 80s when I was a kid, and getting to go was kind of an experience. And I do vaguely remember the Sears wish book, somewhat. So getting those randomly in the mail or whatnot, but it was a dead heat in this one. 50% for Radio Shack, 50% for the Sears book.
Neat, and I think that goes to a lot to our audience, to be honest, because there's a lot of nerds out there.
Indeed. Before we move on with just some general main topic stuff, Kelly Luna Girl did one last poll on our Twitter account, which is
Sidebar Cantina.
Yes, at Sidebar Cantina. And she basically asked about what your favorite 80s gadgets were.
I'm tested every time, and I win.
Yeah, and she gave you 4 options. Coming in at number 4 was Simon with 0% of the votes. The IBM computer with 13% of the votes. The Casio calculator watch with 38% of the votes. And at number 1 with 50% of the votes, the Atari 2600. Which is on our list of things to talk about. Yes. So why don't we go ahead and get into it?
Yes.
So let's talk about the Atari, because we've done standalone episodes on the NES. We're planning on doing a Game Boy discussion, so neither of those is really going to get talked about in this episode. But I feel like this is a good time to talk about the Atari.
Sure.
And what it meant to both of us.
I'm going to go first because, to be honest, the Atari was something that Rick had, my cousin Rick, who was in the Discord. I don't think he's on the YouTube chat, but they had this at their house. I remember it was on my Uncle Fred and Aunt Debbie. They had it hooked up to their. They had a TV in their bedroom, and it was hooked up to the TV in their bedroom. And Rick and I would go in there, and that's like we'd play video games, and that's. That they had the Atari. I had the Commodore VIC-20. Mm-hmm. Like I was able to play games on that, and it was hooked up to our family TV. They had the Atari 2600. I want to say it's not something that I coveted necessarily, but at the same time, it didn't define my gaming experience, if that makes sense.
I'm 100% on the same page because my family never had an Atari, but my best friend Rob, his parents had an Atari, which
Right.
we were allowed to play every once in a while, but it was that weird thing where it was, even though it was like the biggest video game console at the time, it even felt a little, I don't want to say primitive, but it felt like it was quite not there. You know?
You know what's funny? As I sit here and think about this, like, I probably shouldn't even say this out loud, but I'm going to say it anyway. Is it that the Atari, like a video game, just solely for the purpose of playing video games, was it still seen as something that is like frivolous? Whereas something like a VIC-20, what was I doing on the VIC-20, right? I could play Snackman, which was on a cassette tape, right?
Yep.
I could put Snackman in there, or I could go on there and I could learn basic programming.
Yeah.
Right? This is how I learned how to program in BASIC, fucking 10, blah, 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 blah. 20, go to 10, that shit. I learned how to do that on the VIC-20. So it had it functioned as a computer.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily just a machine for games. And I wonder if that's why we didn't have it in our house. Like, because this is a computer. This is for doing something that's not just for video games.
Right.
Whereas I want to say to my aunt and uncle, and over at Rick's house, it was more about having fun.
Yeah.
Like, they were more interested in having fun. And like playing video games, stuff like that was part of that. Like they're the ones that read comic books and fucking had video games, shit like that. So going over to their house and having fun made more sense than being in my house and being like,
right. And there were some good multiplayer games on the Atari. Like you had Combat. You remember Combat, where you had like the fucking spin pads and you'd fuck each other over. Like, oh, god damn it, fuck you. But
I didn't use that language when I was that age.
Neither did I. Well, when the adults were around, like. Again,
I don't know that I used that language.
Yeah, when adults weren't around, me and my friends cursed like fucking sailors. Why do you think I am the way that I am today? And it's all my mother's fault, by the way. My mother did not watch her language at all when she was around me as a kid. Like every other fucking word out of her mouth was fuck, shit,
Dude.
And that shit rubs off on you as a kid.
Dude, you know why my mouth is so bad right now? It's because I didn't get to. There was no language.
Oh, really?
All. Like. There was no cursing. There was no cursing like at home.
Your parents didn't or anything?
No. I mean, every once in a while, like my dad was working on a car, might let a couple out, but for the most part, no, not a thing. Not like the Ralphie and fucking soap in the mouth kind of level, but like still, it was very. Yeah, you didn't do that. Like I don't know if it was.
I don't know. Again, I came from the poor white trash section of California, and that's just kind of what we did. So.
It really makes me wonder where I picked up this fucking mouth, though.
Right. But so
it's there. It's definitely fucking there.
Yeah. So I didn't have one in my household, but I would play one with my friend Rob, and there were a couple of fun games. But the thing was, it was so obviously inferior to the arcade that we had, which I enjoyed a good arcade game. And that's kind of what I grew up on. But when you look at like the Atari version of Pac-Man versus the actual arcade version of Pac-Man, it's night and fucking day.
Not even close.
It's, oh god, the Atari version is so terrible. And we knew this back then. Back in like fucking 1986. We're looking at this and we're like, this is fucking awful.
Yeah.
So I think...
Well, especially because when we sat down we'd go to Pizza Hut and we'd sit down and at a table... that had Pac-Man built into it, like we could play Pac-Man at its finest level, and I don't know, like we're talking about it in television, and this is probably just good place to talk about it. One of the things that I had, if we're talking about like Coleco, I didn't have a ColecoVision, but I had a small Pac-Man game.
Oh, the mini arcade
game.
Yeah.
It had the fucking joystick.
And I think you're exaggerating the size of those. It probably felt like that big when we were kids, but it was more like this.
Oh yeah, well I was I was a child, but it felt like it was this big, and it was one of the first things. So I had that thing forever. I wish I still had it. It's one of those things from childhood I wish I still had.
Mm.
And it's probably somewhere. See the chat.
Yeah.
But it was one of the first toys that I had. Like it took C batteries, right? It took a lot of them.
Oh yeah.
And it was just LEDs, right? It was just like.
Oh yeah, it was terrible.
It was terrible, but it was fun to play.
As a kid, it was awesome.
It made noise, right? You had this arcade experience, and the fucking battery cover would not stay on the fucking thing.
Oh no.
So this was the first thing that I adapted. I ended up taking a piece of fucking corrugated cardboard, right? And like the stuff that you use to hang tools off of, and I cut a piece of that and form fitted it into the fucking slot with a screw to hold the batteries in so it wouldn't pop out.
Nice.
And then later, I actually adapted a fucking a power cable to go into it.
Damn.
And managed not to fry it.
Nice.
Dave used to take a lot of things apart and fucking attempt to not set the place on fire.
How would you convert that AC to DC?
Well, the cord itself would do that for you.
All right.
Because of the way that the end was.
Hey man, fair enough.
Dude, here's something funny. Like along to that end, Jeff's one of the things that we got when he was born and at the baby shower, we got a battery operated swing. Right.
Yo, we had one of those for Rob too.
Dude, they were fucking great.
Oh yeah, that was a godsend.
But batteries, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. So I wired it to the fucking wall. What I didn't account for was that there was like probably a step down in what was happening with the batteries.
Mm-hmm.
So when I wired this thing in there, it swung. It swung really fast.
Woo!
It wasn't like violent, but it was markedly faster than it was before. But we let it go. I mean, it wasn't like violent to the point where it was getting thrown out of it.
Yeah.
But it was noticeably faster. And
Oh
it
my
was
God.
just like, wow, okay, we're just gonna go let it go. Fuck it.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yep. Typical Dave shit. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna modify this.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
Oh, that's too funny. So really quick to kind of finish up this discussion, despite the fact that I didn't own one and I was very unimpressed with a lot of games on the Atari 2600, there were a couple of games that I really, really did love. Games that I still play to this day on like emulators.
Right.
Adventure being probably the number one. Do you remember Adventure? Where you were the little square,
Right.
and you went around this fucking map, and you went into different castles, and you got the fucking sword, and you had the dragons chasing you. That game was fucking crazy. Granted, very primitive looking by today's standards, but that was my introduction into the adventure / role-playing game.
RPGs,
Yeah, genre. And it was fucking awesome. And I still love that game. To this day, I'll go back and I'll play an emulator because if you put it, because the Atari had that like difficulty switch, right? Mm-hmm. Where you could change difficulty of games. And if you put adventure on the third fucking difficulty, the maps were all completely randomized and the fucking dragons were vicious. Like that fucking red dragon and the fucking green dragon, they'd like pop out of nowhere. It was almost like a survival horror game. It was like Resident Evil, you know? Like you come around a corner, it's like fucking, ah! You know, these motherfuckers would...
never could get into those games.
The Resident Evil or the adventure?
Either one. Either one.
Yeah. But no, I fucking loved adventure. The Haunted House was another one that I really liked. There was a Return of the Jedi game, or not Return of the Jedi, but Empire Strikes Back game. Yeah, where you were the fucking, you were the snowspeeder and you were attacking all the fucking AT-ATs.
That was a great fucking game. I do remember that one.
Yeah, it was like good music and yeah, it really
for the fucking you know,
yeah.
Like you could definitely tell it was Star Wars. For it being 8-bit and fucking like the sound being shitty.
Oh yeah, no, it was good.
You knew it was fucking Star Wars.
Yep. And then of course I did have 2 years before I got my first NES, I got an Intellivision, which was another competitor around that time with Coleco and Atari. Intellivision was another company that was trying to like come up and be a competitor. And I had one of those. It had the fucking like the 9 number pad buttons on it and the fucking weird rolly pad.
Yeah.
And there was a game on there called Demon Attack, which it's very Space Invaders like. but it was a little bit more in depth than that, and I fucking loved that game. But nothing else on there really.
I've never played a single minute of an Intellivision. I've seen it. I've seen it here.
Yeah,
You've got it.
I have an Intellivision. Like years
over
ago, I bought one on eBay again.
It's part of the Sacred Jedi
The Sacred Jedi games.
consoles.
Yeah.
Sacred Jedi consoles.
But
No.
yeah, I had one of those. But really, home consoles did not take off for us until the NES came out. Like
Yeah.
that was the one that like, okay, this is serious fucking business now.
Yeah.
With the Nintendo Entertainment
Yeah,
System.
and in my house, that's honestly was the first time. This is solely for video game playing.
Yeah.
Not a computer. That by the way, you're allowed to have one game on it.
Mm-hmm.
Which was Snack Man, and it was great.
Was that one of those rip-offs of Pac-Man?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But
Nice.
I love Pac-Man. Pac-Man and Tetris are two games that I have on anything that can play a game.
Yeah.
Like those are, I will buy whatever port of that comes out just because. Now I say that, and I'm not as good at Pac-Man as I once was, which is sad. But
Oh, I'm sure we're not nearly as good at any video game that we used to be back in the day.
sadly, yes.
But oh man, we got all kinds of video game chat going on in the chat right now
Yeah,
too.
I see Frogger.
Yeah, a lot of
Hubert.
Frogger talk. Frogger, you know, for anybody who cares, was the very first video game that I ever played. I remember going to an arcade, seeing Frogger, watching some people play it, and then stepping up to the machine for the first time, putting my quarter in, and Frogger in the arcade was the first video game I ever actually played.
Nice. Pac-Man was the first game I ever played,
Okay,
and it was at Pizza Hut.
sweet.
Yeah. And then Hubert closely followed there. And I had a thing for Hubert for a while,
Oh yeah,
which sounds weird saying it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's the nose that looks like a dick. You had a thing for that?
it doesn't look like a dick.
Okay.
It's more like a snork, like a snorkel.
Yeah.
Like I think I had a cake one year too that was like a Hubert cake.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Were there like different
Yeah,
layers?
it was like layers and it had like it was like a whole thing.
That's pretty sweet.
Dude, I was Pac-Man one year for fucking Halloween.
I think you've told this story before,
Yeah.
where you had like the full fucking
Yeah, my parents made this giant fucking cardboard Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Which honestly, they made more for them than for me. I got to wear it as a fucking in elementary school.
Yeah.
But yeah, I fucking put this giant fucking Pac-Man thing on. It's fucking great.
Awesome.
I think we're gonna pee.
Yes, I really got to go. So one more time. Let's take another break
Okay.
and finish up this main topic after the second word from our sponsors.
It's because Jason's way ahead of me in the beer department. Oh man, am I aware of the Pac-Man kill screen? I should be, but it's not ringing any bells right now. Drink for snaps. 8285 at our pizza hangout. We had Mario Brothers, Tempest, Donkey Kong, Defender, Tron. So Donkey Kong was one of those games where like it seemed like everybody was playing and I could never get like into. Like it was weird. It was like, oh, you kind of queued up, but I was always a littler kid, so I could never like kind of muscle my way into trying to get to play it. And then a handful of times I did get to play it, I sucked at it, so I'm like, fuck this, go back to playing Pac-Man. Yeah, it's Joust. I'm trying to think what other games there was like at the you sat down at like the Rustler or the fucking Ponderosa or something. They think they had like there was Pac-Man and like Track and Field or something. It was like a combo game at the like where you sat at the table. Pac-Man kill screen. No, I've never got there. Get to level 256, and then because that number was greater than 255, the number level would roll over. No, never got there. Yeah, you know what's fucking weird? Like it's something I realized, and maybe now that I'm like just older. You all right?
Rolling?
Yeah.
These are the last two.
Yeah, I'll nurse this one till the end. No, I don't fucking...
All right.
I don't want to play... I don't care about playing games to completion.
All right, somebody in the chat help me out. Kristen was trying to think of a game that she played on the Atari. It used the paddle controller. And apparently you were a guy catching people from like a burning building, but you were also like a burglar or a robber or something. So somebody, if you have any knowledge of this, help us out. She might be confusing like two different games, but still, if you know what the hell she's talking about, let us know in the chat.
Heard of the burning building one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Track and Field was definitely one of those tabletop games. I was asking, like...
Well, wasn't there an NES version of that had that fucking pad?
Yeah, the track
that you'd lay out on the ground? Yeah.
No, like, at like, I think it was at Rustler or Ponderosa, one of those fucking steak places.
Mm-hmm.
They had the tabletop that had Pac-Man, it had Track and Field, and I think it had another game.
Towering Inferno. Is that what it is, Kristen?
I don't know. Google it.
Yeah, so.
Google it. I was the first person in our small town to use the pencil on Track and Field arcade game to smash buttons when racing.
Yeah, that was the trick. You get on your fucking hands and knees and you just go brrrr on the fucking Track and Field pad. And yeah,
that makes sense.
So, all right.
Ready?
Yeah, go for it. Do it.
Let's see if I can do it without sudden stop.
And we're back again. You all right?
Yes.
Did I startle you?
You know what? Let's just press.
All right. So, really quick before we move away from the Atari stuff, Kristen did want to mention that she loved the game, the Towering Inferno, using like the paddle controller, and you're like going back and forth, I guess, catching people from a burning building.
Yeah.
So that was a game that she played, and I recall the name, but I don't think I ever played it myself. Because every time I played an Atari, like their paddles were always fucking broken. Like those controllers would break pretty easily, from what I remember.
Yeah. I don't think they were very robust.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah, because even the control, like an Atari controller itself, I remember when they started coming out with, you could buy basically the emulator you could plug into the television.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is before when they came out with the NES Mini.
Yeah.
And they came out with an Atari one, and it was like everything was like in the controller, and they unnecessarily made the controller extremely stiff, just like the regular fucking Atari controller.
Right.
So you're like holding it, going like, God, it was like, and that's exactly what I remember as a kid. Like you couldn't move the fucking controller.
And you know what? I think that might have been part of why the Atari wasn't nearly as appealing for us, because those controllers fucking sucked.
Yeah, you needed to hold one with one hand and fucking.
Yeah, and they would break a lot. You know, they'd lose sensitivity. Like you're jamming it fucking up, like go up, motherfucker, and it wouldn't go. Yeah, so it wasn't until again the NES when they really streamlined the controllers and they made it better for us.
Well, listen, those controllers had issues too, but that's for another time.
Indeed. So we've got a whole list of other gadgets, some stuff that Kristen picked, some other stuff that I threw in there. So let's just kind of run down this list. Let's start with the clapper. Clap on, clap off.
80s thing?
The clapper. Oh yeah, that was like so fucking 80s. I didn't know anybody that had that, but the commercials themselves were fucking hilarious.
Dude. Tell me right now that you don't want a clapper in your house. Like, tell me Amazon isn't basically the equivalent of the fucking clapper.
Right, like Alexa. Yeah, right? It's like, Alexa, turn off the lights.
Exactly.
Whereas back in the day, it was just... And then, boom, the lights would go off.
Which, honestly, I wonder if you could program Alexa to be responsive to the clap.
Probably.
Huh.
You're talking the motion of clapping your hands, right? not the
Right.
clap.
The actual clap.
Right, not the STD.
What would you have to do to the Alexa device to give it the clap?
I mean, AI is a pretty robust thing these days. We digress. So,
Anyway. But yeah, I swear there was a point in time very recently, like in the past, I don't know, like since COVID, where I thought about like actually trying to procure a clapper.
really,
Yes, because less complicated than Alexa, but also very convenient.
yeah. I'm sorry, we've got a lot of like responses in the chat from giving Alexa the clap. Anyway,
yeah, that is a very iconic 80s device.
yeah, and it was obviously marketed for old people, right?
Sure.
Because the commercials are like these fucking old people all curled up in their beds, like, okay, time to turn off the lights.
But I am at that age where I fucking 100% appreciate that shit.
Right, so it's come full circle now
Yes.
for us Gen Xers.
No, I love it. I want, like, this is why I think Alexa is brilliant. This is why when I go into my family room and I want, hey, I say computer, what do I say? Computer work mode, right? And the fucking lights, go to a certain, hey, the desk lamp goes to this brightness and the rest of the lamps go to this brightness, and the fucking radio turns on to Sirius XM Turbo, and fucking it's playing the station, and I'm just like, oh, this is nice. And it's like, when I say computer dim the lights, everything comes down. I say, if I'm getting ready to do the podcast, I say computer podcast lighting, and it's the clapper. It's just,
it's the next levels
it's
of the clapper.
It's whatever fucking magnitude. Of
Pop
the clapper.
pop. Yeah, no, and again, it's such an iconic thing for those of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s. And yeah, the technology we see today is the evolution of that. So it's just kind of funny, again, how everything has really come full circle. And yes, Talia, that's exactly what I was thinking as we're having these conversations, is about fucking Skynet.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
And that's basically where we're headed.
If that makes my life easier, fuck it. I don't give a shit. I'm one of those people. I was at a point in my life too, when back in the day, being part of that unit, where I was like,
suck my unit.
I don't want anything to like all these things that are listening to me because of like whatever. And now that I'm not in that world anymore, I'm like, I don't fucking care. Dude, whatever. Like I want that listening to me to fucking sidebar. My father-in-law's in the house the other day, and he's been trying to buy a pair of sneakers, right? Mm-hmm. And he says something about buying a pair of sneakers out loud. Alexa hears him. Or no, he asks Alexa, hey, what kind of sneakers, or when did I buy sneakers last? Mm-hmm. And she says, oh, you bought this pair of New Balances, blah, 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 blah. He's like, oh, I should buy those again. She's like, okay, buying those sneakers. He's like, whoa, wait a minute. Wait. She's like, okay, they'll be here tomorrow. He's like, wait, I didn't. But apparently we were able to cancel the order. But it's like, that's when, that's Skynet's a little bit too quick on the draw. But I like being able to fucking get things instantaneously with.
It's so weird.
Look at all this in front of us. Look at all this.
True. I mean,
all this tactile shit that's like right here. I can.
Yeah, and trust me, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna close up with a discussion about all this, but let's talk about camcorders, or video cassette recorders in general, because again, for me and my family, this didn't really start happening until like the late 80s or probably the beginning of the 90s when we started getting like home video recorders. But I remember, again, another friend of mine this was probably in the late 80s, like 88, 89, like the full fucking video recorder that just straight up took VHS tapes, right? I have 4 VHS tapes still of me and my friends, like 8th grade, freshman year of high school, like having fucking parties and just like throwing a blank fucking VHS tape in my buddy's video recorder and like just recording ourselves being fucking idiots.
Like that cartoon home movies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that was the shit back then, because being able to do that, just throw a fucking blank VHS tape into this thing and then just record yourself doing whatever. It was fucking awesome.
my dad had an RCA video camera that had so it was, you had the video camera here and it connected to a strap on fucking VCR.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking something else.
But so it was like this whole package that you had to carry around. So
a package that's strapped on. Got it.
That's strapped on. Yep.
Yep.
And it was large. Like it was black.
Oh yeah, yeah, it was.
It was gray in parts. But no, so you had this, like, you had to carry around the VCR with a full VHS on it, but this would beat the alternative because he didn't want to have to deal with the smaller cassette to like adaptive.
Right.
So this was before the full cassette technology, and this was the option.
Mm-hmm.
And what was funny, like, a lot of this stuff, right? My dad would get, like, the VCR, for example. He would tape, like, he'd be the guy to be like, oh, such and such is getting married. Like, okay, we'll go and videotape the wedding for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we'd huck all this fucking technology out. And then this is where I learned how to be an AV guy, right? So,
did you have the boom mic?
Yeah, my dad would be videotaping this, and then, like, I would be running the video camera, and he'd be taking, like, still pictures because, like, this is where I got all my photography and everything else from.
Mm-hmm.
That him and my mom would be taking stills, and I'd be running the video camera, or they'd be doing all that and be watching my sisters when they were that age.
Yeah.
Or they'd be at church, and they'd have the video camera running. And you'd have to, like, watch the clock because the tape would run out. If you just hit record, let it run.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd be watching the fucking mixer because he had a mixer and a dual cassette deck. And we'd have the microphones in the choir when they're doing, like, recording something for the church choir. And I'm sitting there literally running, like, this little AV board. So
why am I doing all the audio editing for this fucking show?
Because I've already done it. And you don't do it, like, it's not manual enough.
I declare shenanigans right now.
Look, you just volunteered. Now, why would I volunteer myself?
This is fucking bullshit.
Don't I volunteer to do enough shit?
No, you don't. At least not for whatever.
I beg to differ.
Carry on.
Go feed some fucking Afghans.
I will do no such thing, sir.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, but yeah, camcorders. That's was our setup, and we had that shit for years.
Yeah.
But it actually came in handy because when we were, like, we go on vacation, we go down the shore, like, camping. It functioned as a full VHS.
Yeah.
So it could, if you had a small TV in the camper, it would play videotapes also. So
yeah. And now the shitty thing is throughout the 90s, as camcorder and home video technology started to advance, like, all these fucking companies all started coming out with their own proprietary formats for fucking, media.
Right.
Like, you had, like, the Hi8, you had the VHS-C, you had a couple other different, like, fucking mini video formats, and, like, I've got dozens of each of these fucking formats in a box that, I can't do anything with because there's nothing that fucking supports them now.
Right.
VHS-C was the only one that was smart, where they had like a VHS fucking tape, but it was something that you would slot the VHS-Cs into, and then you could, like, play it in a normal fucking VHS player.
The problem was the VHS, like, that adapter. If it didn't line up quite right, it would fuck the tape.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it had to be, like, you had to be really, really careful, and you had to listen. Because back in those days, like, I don't know how much we're going to talk about the VCR that's on this list. But
well, we can get into it a little bit.
The fucking, like, VCR tapes, like, you had to be listening for it.
Oh yeah, as soon as you heard that, you're like, oh fuck, eject.
You fucking hear it start to go, and
yeah.
that thing would fucking eat itself quicker than fucking anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and that was the thing that really pissed me off, though, like, as home movies progressed throughout the years, was, like, all these different fucking competing formats, and, like I said, I've got a shitload of fucking home movie tapes that I can't fucking do anything with. And unfortunately, I can't really take them to, like, a place to, never mind. But anyway, you see what I'm saying.
I do.
Let's talk about phones. Let's talk about phones in the 80s, and then when we started getting things like the answering machine, or even, like, more advanced with, like, caller ID.
So when did caller ID come out?
I don't think that was until the 90s, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, me either.
But I know answering machines were out in the 80s.
Yeah.
With, again, a fucking cassette tape
Yep.
inside of a fucking player, and you would like sit there and record your message.
Yep.
And of course, me being the fucking troll that I was, the first time, like when I joined the Air Force and I got stationed here at McGuire and I was in my fucking dorm and I had my own phone line, the first thing I did was I created a fucking answering machine message that was like me going, hello? Yeah? Hey, hang on for a second. Ha ha, just kidding, leave a message.
What an asshole.
I got so many grandparents with that fucking thing.
Oh my god. Such an asshole.
Yeah.
Caller ID, I googled it real quick, was pioneered by New Jersey Bell in 1987.
Oh shit, okay.
And made available to customers in New Jersey in December 1988.
Okay, so that was technically 80s.
Yeah. I know, like, that was another thing that we were kind of early adopters on. I remember getting the caller ID in the house because you had like a little additional box.
Yep.
That had come in.
Yeah, because the phone line would have to come through that first, and then it would go out to your phone.
But think going even further back, right? Because we've talked about it on the show before, right? We had the phones that had. We basically started our memories with phones that had the rotating dial.
Oh yeah.
Right. So with the long ass cord.
Oh yeah.
Right. Or even the long ass cord, I feel like came a little bit later.
Yeah, because a lot of it started with the short cords.
Right.
It wasn't until later where they gave the long, windy cords that you could really stretch across the house.
So you were not having a personal, private conversation.
No.
If you were one of the people like craziness that had multiple phones in your house, like even that was a luxury.
Mm-hmm.
That I think the only reason we had in our house growing up was because my dad knew how to wire that stuff, and he wired us like all our phone lines.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, the phone company didn't do that shit. My dad did. My dad did all that.
No, and it's funny you mentioned the privacy thing too, because I can remember in this one house that we were in when I was in like 6th or 7th grade, like our one phone in the house was in the fucking kitchen, like wired to the wall in the kitchen. And that's where you had all of your conversations. Yep. And I can remember like these two girls fucking calling me because I like had it for this girl Tracy in 6th grade. And she called me and they're like, oh, so what do you think about Tracy? And my mom's like right here. I'm like, she's okay. And they're like, oh, do you love her? I'm like, yeah. I'm trying not to like have this conversation with my mother standing right fucking there. Can clearly hear everything I'm saying.
No privacy at all. This idea of like you could advance. I was super, again, I was spoiled. I had my own phone. I had a line in my room because I had the attic room. Right?
Yeah.
So I had that to myself. There was a phone line that went up there that shared the house line. And then later on, I had my own phone line. But that was like in high school.
Right.
But before that, I could use the phone line and have my own. I could be up there, private, and have a private conversation until somebody else picked up another phone
right,
line.
and then they could just listen.
Or
and
if they were fucking slick, you could just fucking hold down the button.
Yeah, and then like you'd have, or the other person would have no idea you're sitting there listening to their conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you fucking, advance a little bit further even, and like, oh hey, you pick up just before the answering machine fucking clicks on. And now the entire conversation you're having is being recorded on the fucking answering machine.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, fucking CSI, really easy to fucking catch your ass doing some fucking crooked shit.
Yeah.
When shit like that's going on.
They really, they played on that in Weekend at Bernie's. If you remember, there was a scene at the beginning of Weekend at Bernie's where the guy called him. He's like, hey, don't kill him while I'm around. And then they listened to it later on, so...
A movie that I think we should be talking about here soon, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, plays into the...
Oh, yeah.
The
where Ferris did the whole...
The answering machine bit and with the call response and everything else. Like, what's really funny about, we're talking about the 80s, and, we kind of... I think when we're still doing the Gen X, like, when we're early in doing the Gen X stuff... As we've matriculated into, like, from where we were with this corded phone to this, not even having a corded phone in your house. Like, not even having a landline in your house.
No.
Which most people don't.
Yeah, very few. Like, we don't.
like all you see, all paperwork and stuff like that is all like most of it's all cell phone as your like your primary number. Like even like the required number,
Yeah.
it doesn't even indicate like a home phone. It's just like your cell.
Yeah.
So we've gone fully to that point now where there's no expectation of having a home phone. And I'm not sure because my kids aren't in school anymore. I don't even know are schools asking for a home number at all?
No, because
That used to be the only thing. Like people would maintain a home number. Like I know when my kids were still in school age stuff before high school, they needed to have a fucking home phone number.
yeah.
So we're like, all right, well, we had fucking Vonage so that we'd have a landline. But that's the only reason we had it.
Right. All right. Well, we'll put a pin in that discussion for when we wrap this up. But I wanted to talk about a couple more things.
Okay.
One, Polaroid cameras.
Yes.
I used to fucking love the concept of Polaroid cameras because my mom was always big into taking pictures, but she always did it with film, right? So she had one of those fucking pictures. She'd like take a picture, click, zzz, zzz, zzz. She'd wind it, boom, take another picture. But she was huge into pictures. We've got fucking photo albums forever. But the thing that frustrated me was I didn't get to see the pictures until, a couple weeks or months later when she finally took the film to get developed. And that was a multiple week process. And then you'd eventually go pick up your fucking photos and all that. But the Polaroids I always thought was so cool because you take the picture and you'd immediately get to see it, right? Once the thing, you
Right.
shake the fucking... shake it like a Polaroid picture.
Yeah.
And exactly, you know what I'm talking about.
a Polaroid picture.
And you'd eventually get to see that picture. And I thought that was so fucking cool back in the day. But I think I had like one grandparent that had a Polaroid camera back in the day. But just the whole concept to me was so fucking cool.
We had that. My mom loved the Polaroid cameras.
Did she?
Like we would. I don't know. I'm not going to Google it because I'm in the middle of trying to type a response to the Lunar Girl is still having a landline. It's something to the effect of up in NEPA. I'm surprised they don't have Morse code still.
Yeah.
I'll think of something.
Sure.
But no, I remember when the Polaroid had first come out, like remember the flash cubes that would come with that?
Oh,
Like, you
yeah.
had, like the flash bar and then you had a flash cube.
Yeah.
And my mom would be constantly like, okay, we need Polaroid film. We're going to an event. We need to stop and get Polaroid film. Like you had to stop at like a film place. Like you'd be stopping
yeah.
at one of the like Instafilm places or whatever. And we had, not to dwell on the film bit, but we had a dark room. And
Yeah, you've mentioned that
yeah,
before.
but anything other than black and whites, we had to drop off like everyone else. But the Polaroids, my mom would take tons of Polaroids. We still have a working Polaroid camera
Oh, no shit.
at my grandparents' house. Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was my cousin had actually gotten it out, and we were trying to take pictures with it, but we didn't. Well, we were like, oh fuck, the batteries are probably dead. And what we didn't realize is that the battery is actually encased in the fucking film cartridge. So once I bought a new film cartridge, I went on Amazon and got film cartridges. The fucking thing still works.
Yeah.
Like, the camera still works. Like the exposure's not quite right. Like it's fucking old.
Yeah.
But it still fucking works. Take a Polaroid picture. Come on, chicken. But yeah, Polaroids are great for that. And there's something to be said for the way digital cameras are, especially these days, and the eternal. If it's on the cloud forever or whatever.
Yeah.
But I love, if I really, really like a picture, I want a hard copy of it. And being able to have a hard copy of it right away there's something enticing about that.
Oh, yeah.
And they still make instant cameras. Like today, like brand new ones. You can still buy an instant camera. They still sell them.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, and, kind of taking this full circle back to our smartphones.
Yeah.
You talk about Polaroids. We're so spoiled now with these fucking phones
Yep.
where they take just the sharpest pictures. And there's an old joke. Dimitri Martin, he's like, I love digital cameras because they allow you to reminisce immediately. And it's like, oh, look at us. We were so young 2 minutes ago, But think about all of these things that we've talked about that have now just all been replaced by this little fucking rectangle in our hands. Going all the way back. Video games. So many video games on here. You can get the original fucking Pac-Man on this thing. You can get so much shit. the calculators, right? We thought the calculator watches were so cool. You've got a fucking any as complex of a calculator as you fucking want on this thing. Yes, you've got the
full scientific calculator if you just turn it sideways. Remember when that fucking
the scientific calculator?
When you suddenly realized when you turned it sideways it was a fucking scientific calculator?
Oh yeah.
Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Game changer.
You think about things like music, right? We talk about our tape players and our Walkman and even like the early adopters of CDs.
Yep.
Everything. You subscribe to like Apple Music or fucking Spotify or whatever, and you basically get like the history of music. Anything you want to fucking listen to at the drop of a fucking hat. Like right then and there.
Yeah. Your CD folder has been replaced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, sidebar, CD folder, found mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like the one that we were traveling with and everything?
Well, no, that was my DVD folder.
Oh, we're talking like CDs, like
my
music.
CD folder from back in the day. It's missing a lot. I think my kids have gotten into it and had taken some out, but there's still some good titles in there. So I think the next time we do a music show, I'll bring it in so we can go through some of that.
Sweet.
Yeah, there's a lot of CDs in there, and all the CDs that are there, I still have even though they're in the sleeves, I still have the inserts. I kept all the inserts for all the CDs.
That's fucking awesome because those inserts were awesome.
Yeah.
Like they would have like the fucking lyrics of the songs. They'd have all kinds of other like details, like crazy artwork.
Yeah, I'm glad fucking past Dave was actually thinking ahead.
Indeed.
Of saving those things.
Yep.
Pack Rat Dave.
So talking about some other stuff that these fucking cell phones have replaced, camcorders, video, like you ever see anything going on and there's always a fucking group of people with their fucking phones up just recording everything.
Yeah, people recording stuff when they should be actually intervening.
Yeah. Fucking answering machines and phones. Like, fuck cordless phones or anything else. Like, it's all right here.
Yep.
Your voicemail, it's...
But, this is a huge but. The fucking... When this thing isn't working, right? It's a showstopper.
Yeah.
Like, so I dropped this thing, a few weeks ago. I'm toughing it out until I get the fucking screen fixed, right? But I haven't been able to listen to voicemails. Like it just won't let me listen to voicemails.
Really?
Like for whatever reason, it's either something in the account. I've rebooted the phone. I'm not a moron. I've done everything that I know to do, aside from wiping the phone completely, which I really don't want to do.
No.
And it's just really fucking annoying because my position at Lodge, I get a lot of fucking random phone calls. People trying to rent the Lodge for a fucking funeral or some shit like that. And I'm like, I see you left me a voicemail. So now I'm just cold calling the person back and saying, oh, I'm sorry, I see you left a voicemail, but I can't listen to it.
Yeah.
It kind of handcuffs you. But at the same time, this is on you all the fucking time.
Yep.
So when you're being spammed, like, remember telemarketers, how they would call your fucking house and be really fucking annoying? And you got to learn how to, like, do *69 and do all that other shit, right? Do funky things with the fucking phone. Well, now, you can't get away from it.
No.
Like,
and it's to the point where I don't answer it unless it's somebody in my contacts.
Yeah.
Like, period.
And then you miss stuff.
Yeah.
You end up missing fucking calls because, like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm on Do Not Disturb now because I'm doing the podcast, right? But if I leave my phone on Do Not Disturb and I miss a fucking call, and I'm like, oh, no, I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, well, you know what? Back in the day, when I had a fucking landline, if I wasn't home and I missed your call, I wasn't fucking home.
Right.
It's okay to miss your fucking call.
Yeah,
like,
but now everybody's expected to always have these fucking things on them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's now we're at a point where it's out of the ordinary for you to be non-responsive.
Yeah.
And that's troubling.
It's a double-edged sword, for sure.
It is. But I still like having the supercomputer in my fucking pocket. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm sitting down taking a shit.
Yeah, no, and I think the benefits far outweigh the drawbacks. But it's just so funny to think about how much of the technology and these gadgets from the 80s that we talk about have been replaced by this.
The bigger question is, the more esoteric question is, if we didn't have this technology in the 80s, would we have it? Would we have this now?
Well, no, of course, because it's all stepping stones. It's all part of the process. You have to go through this stuff. Go through the shit that we went through, which is why I always claim we're the greatest generation, because we are the ones that grew up with the fucking rotary phones and we know how to use these fucking things also.
Yeah.
So, we've seen both ends of the spectrum of this technological fucking leap that we've made over the last 40 years.
Well, I guess the question is, so this technology, I guess the 60s happened and there's this like huge leap in technology with like the Apollo program and everything else, right?
If we're talking space exploration, sure.
Well, just technology in general, right? From an industrial standpoint, like materials, computing.
Yeah, semiconductors and shit like that. That's
the technology to actually create things like this is what started in the 60s into the 70s, which led to things like personal computers and things like that.
Right, and that's when things like the internet first started, the foundations for that first started to be laid, basically.
But without the introduction of something like a personal computer, I don't think that we ever get to this point where we're carrying around these fucking phones.
No,
we never. There's no need for it.
Right,
you go to work to fucking work. You don't.
Yeah, and
have work constantly in your pocket.
Every one of these things that we've talked about was all a step in the process to get us to where we are now. Again, I just think we're in such a unique spot because we saw all of this over the course of our lives. Mm-hmm. Obviously we weren't alive in the fucking 60s to see the Apollo shit, but like we saw
the fruits of that. We saw the fruits of that labor, though.
Yeah, exactly. And we watched the technology drastically advance over the course of our lives, just in these first 40 years. So, yeah, no, I think it was all part of the process. It was all necessary, and it's been phenomenal to watch from my perspective. Yeah. I think it's been incredible just seeing this unfold in front of my fucking eyes.
Yeah, in an order of magnitude that I don't know if, being alive for another 40 years, can you imagine going another order of magnitude higher than we are right now?
I couldn't imagine there being that many leaps, the way we saw leaps from our childhood to now. I can't see it. But I can just see this shit getting better, more refined.
But do you think our parents would have thought the same thing?
I don't know.
It's one of those things. Like, talking. If you're on a fucking a telephone talking cross country, like even doing anything cross, like transoceanic, right? The telephone cable that was being laid trans-Pacific, transoceanic, going over the air, like being able to talk to ships at sea and shit like that over microwave technologies. Those things were still like, wow.
Yeah.
There's I don't know. I think it can definitely be there, but it's whether it happens in our lifetime to get to this order of magnitude is fucking fascinating.
Yeah, it might take a couple of generations to see that kind of a leap.
I just hope that I have enough cognitive ability to actually see it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not fucking, standing up and forgetting where the fuck I am.
Well, and I think there's going to be a difference between us when we're 80 and, like, say, our grandparents or even our parents when they turn 80. Because I can remember my grandfather never had a cell phone. Or he had one, but he never used it, never turned it on. It was a flip phone. He would not do smartphones. My grandparents never owned a personal computer. That was just, that was too much outside of their comfort zone. And even though we lived in an era where personal computers were so plentiful and so easy to use, they were just like, no, that's not what I want. That's not what I want to be a part of.
Yeah. And you know what? My grandfather, it's ironic. My mother's parents were kind of in that boat where like technology they weren't really on the forefront of.
Yeah.
But my grandfather was all over it. Like always fucking a few steps ahead of what was going on. Whereas my grandmother really didn't care.
Yeah. Whereas me, like, I've totally foreseen myself at 80, 85 being, old man grandpa Wookie with the fucking virtual reality fucking sex robot, talking all sexy to me and singing to me and everything else and being like, yeah, and jerking off in the middle of the fucking living room and...
Grandpa, no!
That's doing it Like, I'm gonna embrace everything when it comes to that.
God,
Like, to the day I die. Like,
and hopefully you'll do it in your own room and not in the middle of the fucking living room during a fucking dinner party.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
The things that Jason will do. Maybe you can start doing that in your 60s and just like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Like,
It must have been all the drugs.
whereas deep inside, I'm just like,
Yeah, it was the anthrax shot. Oh no, I don't know what's happening. I'm just jerking off all the time.
so.
Anyway,
Anything else?
that's a perfect way to end a fucking
that
80s gadget technology.
Yeah, that is a good place to end it.
Jerk off robots.
Yeah. Well, virtual reality, jerking off to virtual reality in the middle of your living room.
Also robots.
Yes, robots. So
The Armatrons. Radio
Right.
Shack Armatrons.
right.
It'd be really slow. It was like,
You'll get there eventually, right?
yeah, eventually.
I call this one a stranger.
Kung Fu grip. Ow, too hard.
So, we don't know what we're talking about next week. We have a decent idea, but until we solidify this, we're not going to commit to anything.
Nope. Just to keep Lunar Girl sweating it out.
Yep.
We haven't.
It's a sad hand job, which we've already established. Sad hand job, trademark, the Sidebar Cantina.
That's right.
But
Patent pending.
yeah, so but that's it for this episode. Again,
Yeah.
happy birthday, Kristen.
Yes.
Thank you for the topic, and I think it made for some pretty interesting discussion.
Yes, and what you can do right now, if you want to support our podcast, you can find us on Facebook at the Sidebar Cantina. Get into our private Facebook group,
That's right.
which is honestly the only place that you can find Jason and I on Facebook anymore, because I know I've been avoiding fucking social media like the plague,
Same.
just because reasons.
It sucks.
Yeah,
It sucks.
It's so negative. It's so fucking negative.
Yeah.
However, Lunar Girl's been absolutely killing it. She's out there representing. My own personal fucking psychosis notwithstanding, she's been absolutely killing it. So, if for nothing else, support her good work and find us on Facebook, on Instagram at the Sidebar Cantina. You can go on our Discord channel, which Jason and I are active on.
Yes.
Because it is there is a level of depravity that's there that we enjoy.
Yes, and a good portion of our followers and maybe half of the hosts of the show have been in Facebook jail more than once recently.
I've never been in Facebook jail, and I don't intend on.
Again,
doing
50% of the hosts have been in Facebook jail
Some of us
recently.
have to maintain a fucking substitute certification in the state of New Jersey. Anyway, so Discord, and then also on Twitter, we are at Sidebar Cantina. Once again, pimping the merch. You can't, if you search for us in the TeePublic website, Sidebar Cantina won't come up. However, use the links that are in all of our social media stuff,
Yeah.
our link tree, all that good shit. Buy shit. And if you, I have to look at it. I haven't looked at it in a minute. But if you buy that Fuck Cancer, an Auerbash shirt, any proceeds that we get from that, I'm sending to Senior Master Sergeant Tom Young's family. He had passed away from cancer a few months back. So still want to try and do something for that. So if you find yourself on there and you want to buy that shirt, please do so. Reviews. Lunar Girl wants to throw stickers at you. Make it rain. Leave a 5-star review. Jason's going to read it. Or I will read it verbatim.
Mm-hmm.
Just DM your review. Send it to us. And she'll have the stickers in the mail. I'm not reading it verbatim because I already read it in the beginning of the show. For the Cantina family, which we have a lot of.
We do.
You know, we have a Red 5 family, and we have our own Cantina family.
Yes, like our little circle that we had before Red 5 came around.
That's right. I have a addendum to a note here
My God.
that Kelly sent. Hang on. For the Use and Abuse podcast, they will be doing their racing recap at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, as opposed to 5 a.m. Thank the maker, because good grief, what were you thinking? 5 a.m. So tune in for that for their racing recap. Host Scott and Kim will be back again at 7 p.m. to review chick flick classic Dirty Dancing. Blech. Hop in their live chat.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Or stream layer in the week on your favorite podcasting app. If you type it, I will read it verbatim.
Yep.
A Booth in the Back returns Wednesday to recap Week 9 of our Fantasy Football League. Join Don Della Snooch, Brady Big Lovin', and Lunar Girl in the booth live 6 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on our Cyber Cantina Facebook page, as referenced earlier. The Escape Pod will be reviewing the new release of Marvel's Eternals. Blech. Join Don and Brady in the live chat on YouTube at ATSW The Escape Pod Wednesday at 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also stream them on your favorite podcasting app, but you'll be missing out. YouTube. The YouTube chat specifically is where it is best because that's where you derail those guys. That's fucking great.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet Studios finally released their cover of Seven Dust Waffle. It's really, really good. Like, if you're into Seven Dust at all, it is a great cover. It really is. The singer they got is really good. The vocals. The vocals are excellent. I didn't realize, like, what's really funny is Nick's like the backup vocal for like some of the parts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow, that's that's Nick doing the backup, right? Then I listened to Waffle in the car. I'm like, wow, fuck, that Nick sounds exactly like the guy who was doing it.
Nice.
So they do a phenomenal job. Get in there, watch their shit, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff on Sweet Studios. He's on to his next project. The clue is Wonderland Walnuts for his next project.
That does not sound like a metal version of Rush Rush to me. So
while we wait, give a listen to Waffle at Sweet Studios on YouTube. Give him a follow on Instagram for his latest nutty updates. The Orange and Fett Show dropped episode 4 this past Friday, where they discussed the upcoming things they like.
Fuck, I need to get caught up on that.
They might is that a short show? Because it's probably just about Boise State Broncos.
Probably, but
And
still,
that's it.
still, I mean, I'm sure it's worth the listen.
And maybe our podcast.
Probably.
We do have to listen. Check it out and subscribe on Spotify to be notified of upcoming episode releases. In Red 5 news, we're trying something new in the Red 5 family by sharing daily live streaming schedules on all the socials for nightly live chats to hang in. There are 32 amazing podcasts in the Red 5 network, and literally something for every personality. What was that?
Thought it was 33.
Maybe that's 32 like 33 including us.
Yeah, Kelly told us
It
today
says
was
32. I will read whatever's on the teleprompter.
She said 33 in our meeting
read
today.
Whatever's on the teleprompter.
All right.
There are 32 or 33 amazing podcasts in the Red 5 network, and literally something for every personality. For the complete list, visit bio.link/Red5. Coming up tonight, you can find a Star Wars journey with Ashley and Brandy, I think Brandy,
one of them was in the chat
Brandy
earlier.
was in the chat. Thank you very much, Brandy. At 8 p.m. Eastern, which was in 10 minutes. WSTR Media at 10. I wish we keep this shit on fucking what? It's in 10 minutes.
I thought you said 8:30.
No, I said 8 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, I thought you said 8:30. I'm like,
No, I wish this Lunar Girl note for future. Can we use military time on this? Because I have a tough time. Anyway, WSTR Media at 10 o'clock, Starlight Digest at 11, and Salty Nerds, a case of the Mondays.
there are 4 lights.
Also at 11 Eastern, all on YouTube. So lots of good stuff happening after our show this evening. As always, huge heartfelt thank you to all our Red 5 family who give us weekly shout-outs in their podcasts, tag in their AirPod squads, and daily cross-promotion on all the socials. Lunar Girl would especially like to thank the Escape Pod, Used and Abused, Press Play Streaming Studios, The Salty Nerd, WSTR Media, and the War of the Stars for inviting her on their podcast these past few weeks. The Red 5 Network is truly a great family, and we are blessed to be a part of it. And thank you for... Thank you, Lunar Girl, for being on all those things and representing us so well way better than I would fucking represent us for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, getting us out there to the Red 5 family.
Yeah.
I'm way too introverted to fucking do as much socializing as she's doing.
Indeed.
And then finally, a thank you to Alex at the Salty Nerd and the Sidebar Cantina family member Wally Frogmore for designing 2 new sticker designs for us. You cannot buy these at our merch store. You can only get them by leaving us a 5-star review. DM a screenshot of your review to Luna Girl, and she will put them in the mail the next day.
Yellow cake. Fucking right. Don't drop that shit.
That's that. Red rocks.
Just don't drop that shit. Yeah.
And
Pray
that's
to
it.
God you don't drop that shit.
The read is done.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Stick around. We have an after show where we're going to talk some football. And next week, again, we have an idea for what the topic's going to be, but it's, again, not set in stone. So stand by to stand by.
Yes.
And until next time, again, big happy birthday to Miss Kristen and Dave and everybody else. Nah, go fuck yourself.
Okay, now what do I click?
Alrighty. We're officially in the after show now.
We are officially in the after show now.
220.
The good news is I won't have to tape a separate mea culpa for the fucking reads because I actually remembered this time.
Yeah. Oh, whoops. Sorry.
What'd you do?
I fucked up.
What did you do?
I fucked it up.
Oh, yeah, of course fucking Bronco Fett's all happy that Army beat Air Force.
Right.
God damn.
So I wanted to text you so bad. Like let's pivot to fantasy really quick. For being sort of the not the King Slayer, but the what's the next thing up from the King? So you have been doing me lots of favors in fantasy by knocking off like my competition. So when Luna Girl was when she very briefly surpassed me, you defeated her in fantasy to help propel me back to number 1 and her down. And now with Atco AdAts, Keith Lehman of Layman's Terms being number 2.
I didn't have to do anything. Like, I scored less than 100 points.
Oh, this week was terrible.
I didn't have to do shit. I have fucking Aaron Rodgers, right? Mm-hmm. So let's just talk about this fucking this saga that is my fucking fantasy team right now. So I had Jameis Winston, right, who fucking gets injured. So initially I picked up Taysom Hill. Like, okay. Then they're like, well, it might be Simeon's going to fucking be the guy. I'm like, all right, fine. Drop Hill, pick up Simeon.
Yeah.
Then they're like, well, maybe Taysom Hill's going to be the guy. So fucking drop him, pick up the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was like, well, Rodgers may be on the COVID list, maybe not. So I picked up Love and then dropped him. And picked him back up again.
Yeah.
Again, this is one of those moments where I was fucking starting to talk to Nick and then fucking forget what I was saying. And then so I ended up starting fucking Love, right? Which the Green Bay fan base loves this kid. He didn't do shit that night, though.
No.
He did not
Well,
look
this was
prepared.
last night.
He didn't look like he was
Well,
prepared to play football.
the fucking Chiefs, again, they have been so inconsistent this year. And last night, any other fucking competent team would have beat their fucking asses.
I'm going to get to that in a second.
All right.
So I started Love. Waddle, okay. This is Miami wide receiver. He gets 16.3. Okay.
Yeah.
Reasonable.
Sure.
Hollywood Brown, 23.6. I like it. I can dig it. Well overperformed. Cordell Patterson overperforms, 22 points. Excellent. Eli Mitchell from San Fran gets a respectable 12.9. All right, I can dig it. CeeDee Lamb from fucking the Dallas Schmuckatelli Cowboys. 4.3. I should never have Cowboys on my fucking team ever. Fuck the Cowboys.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a curse.
Then I'm not paying attention, and I made this trade, right? which the fucking commissioner in this league really needs to fucking be shot, because why does it take fucking 5 days for a trade to go through? Like, why would that? Like,
Oh, don't even get me started on the fucking waivers in this league.
yeah, like what the fuck, dude? Have the commissioner fired.
Yeah.
So I get Hopkins and Carr in this trade, and I start them both. Hopkins is fucking out, so I get nothing out of him. And Carr gets me 11.3, has a fucking terrible night.
Mm-hmm.
That was my fucking starting lineup. And then I picked up Baltimore's D, which got me -5 points. And Greg Zuerlein on Dallas's kicker, who had 0 points. Perfect, right? Great. Should have lost to anybody in the fucking league, right? No. Poor Keith Lehman has Burrow, right, who gets less than 5 points.
Mm-hmm.
Taysom Hill, less than 10 points. Cole Beasley, who cares? Dylan from Green Bay, less than fucking 15 points. Ezekiel, it doesn't do shit. Like, Cincinnati's defense, -3. Like, doesn't, just absolute fucking garbage. Gets a total of 88 points. I win. I beat Keith Lehman for you with 97.94 points.
Yeah.
I had no business winning that fucking week.
Yeah, well, you've still been my kingmaker, so I appreciate you.
Which sucks ass, because all I've wanted to make sure is that anybody but you this fucking season. That's been the mantra. Anybody but you.
Yet you've been doing the opposite. You've been knocking off all of my competition, so I thank you, sir.
Yes, I am the commissioner.
Whilst you have fallen to me twice this season.
And you know what? That second game, it was close.
Oh yeah, no,
it
like
was really close.
Like I was pretty sure you were going to beat me at one point. Where thankfully
it's fucking irritating.
Yeah, the Rams players.
And what's really sucks is too, like, I'm on a win streak with my daily fantasy. Like I do DFS, and I've actually been picking really well.
Yeah.
And making money.
Nice.
So I'm gambling with house money, which means I need to stop right now.
Yeah.
I need to stop for the rest of the fucking season and be like, okay, I'm gonna keep this money till next football season, and I don't want to worry about it, because that's how that shit goes.
Yeah. So somebody brought up the 49ers in the chat. Yeah, they've been quite the disappointment so far this year. It's not been going as I was hoping. They're going to be lucky to end the season 8-8, and it's whatever. I don't know what the problem is at this point. They have so much talent on the fucking team. I guess at this point it goes back to the coaching and probably Garoppolo. So, but he's had moments. Those inconsistent Jimmy Garoppolo moments where one game he's like fucking on fire, and then another game he looks like fucking garbage. He looks like fucking Ryan Leaf in there, you know? So
even Ryan Leaf had moments.
He did. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is.
Yeah, well, the Eagles are...
Well, you knew you were going into kind of a rebuilding mode at this point. Like, this is going to be like a 2 to 3 year process probably for you guys.
God. If we even survive that. And it's the failed Jalen Hurts experiment, which, he's bailing people out in their fantasy leagues. Mm-hmm. But he's just not a good... He's just not a good quarterback. Like, he does it... He saves people with his legs. Somebody actually had the audacity, I think it was at work today, to say, like, well, he had that nice dive. He did that flip for a first down. Like, who fucking cares?
Right.
Like, how about a nice fucking throw? Like, Herbert threw the ball with authority. Whereas Hurts, the one ball where the announcer was like, oh, look at that. That was a good, solid throw. Yeah. That ball still had a lot of arc on it. Like, right. I'm not impressed with Jalen Hurts' throwing arm at all. Like, to me, he is a below average arm for the NFL.
Yeah.
So I really... Hey, we got a new subscriber.
Hey.
Steve Long. Thank you.
Steve Long.
Hello. Where's my cursor? There it is. Yeah, I hate to sound like. Here's where I'm at with the Eagles right now. I turned down an opportunity to be at the fucking game yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother-in-law called and said, "Hey, I have tickets. It's like at a suite. You can go, whatever, blah blah blah." I still had to finish painting the fucking bathroom.
Right.
So I had the choice of going to the Eagles game
In a nice
in a
fucking
suite.
suite, apparently.
or fucking painting my bathroom.
You painted your bathroom?
And I chose to paint the bathroom.
Wow.
That's where I'm at with this fucking season, if that tells you anything.
Yeah.
Like, if they were fucking winning games and this was an exciting team to watch right now, that choice, it's not even a choice.
Right.
You know, and quite frankly, those tickets probably aren't available. But this is where I'm at with this team. I am not willing to give up right now on the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a young coaching staff. I think that they need time to figure out what they can do and what they can't do. But we need to find them a good quarterback. Here's the most Eagles thing ever, though, right? This is the most Eagles thing ever. This year, they're probably going to end up with like 3 top 10 draft picks, right?
Right.
This is the worst possible fucking draft.
Oh, really? There's not a lot of good prospects coming out?
For what they're going to need, no.
Yeah.
There's no quarterbacks.
No?
There's no quarterbacks in this fucking draft. Like, so the shit that they really need, they're not going to have. And they're going to have these draft picks. So they're probably going to trade down, and they're not going to get shit for all this fucking maneuvering that they did to get to this point. And then it'll be a fucking waste.
Garoppolo will probably be a free agent at the end of the season.
You know what? I take him.
Would you over Hurts?
I take him over Hurts.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not an upgrade, but
yeah.
I mean, I'm tired of this run first quarterbacking. I mean, yeah, the play calling right now is to keep Hurts in the pocket. Like, okay, I get it, and he's getting out, but this season it's not like Wentz where he was running for his life all the time. I mean, he's running because whatever's happening downfield, or he's not seeing people that are getting open, or he can't make the throw. Mm-hmm. Like, if somebody is open, he can't make the fucking throw, can't get the ball to where it needs to be, or he makes the decision too fucking late.
Yeah.
Like, you look at it, Justin Herbert. The decisions he was making on those downfield throws and the percentage he was making those throws as a second-year quarterback, he was in the same draft as fucking Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Comparing that to Jalen Hurts, like, Herbert, far and away, is a better quarterback with compared to those two, comparing those numbers.
Right.
So, I don't know. It's ugh. Bleh. Blah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve, we saved the football talk for after the show because
we understand that there's not a lot of football people in the type of topics and things that we do. So
if you're new to the show format, we have a fantasy football league that is made up with listeners of the show. It's a 12-team league. It's for fun.
Yep. Which, by the way, we need to talk about a couple of people who may not make the cut. Well, after the season,
I think some ultimatums need to be made with basically it's going to have to be based on the record. If you have the worst record, then I think you need to move out to make room for other people to get in and have a chance to play. Mm-hmm. Whoever that is, if it's me, if it's you, or anybody else, it's obviously
it ain't going to be me. That's for sure.
Well, I can change all that for you.
That's fucked up, Commissioner.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I will not, as Commissioner, do anything that benefits me in any way. However,
but you'll do something to fuck me over?
Well, I mean, I guess technically that could be considered benefiting me, but I mean, it's for the greater good. Yeah.
All right, we ready to close this up?
I guess.
Yeah, because I got to piss again, and it's after 8, and my bedtime is in like half an hour.
And it's your wife's birthday.
It is, and I've seen her for like 5 minutes today. So,
yeah. Steve, tune in sooner in the show.
Yeah, we go live at 5:30 Eastern. So,
17:30.
Yes, if you're a military person.
That'd be funny. Funny in hell that Dave gets rid of all Jason's players.
Oh, that'd be so messed up.
All of a sudden, Jason has all these fucking Jacksonville players. I don't know what happened. Some. Hey, look, Jacksonville had a good game.
Yeah,
They could be turning around. Maybe Urban Meyer needs to go grind up on some other fucking girls that are half his age. Who knows?
I mean, is that such a bad thing?
When you're married and you're fucking
Yeah,
your life is an open book to everybody.
Yeah, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Probably should rethink your life.
all right. Well, thank you everybody who's still with us. We've got a lot of people here in the after show, more than normal. Yeah, thanks everybody for sticking around for the after party, and everybody who watched the normal show, because we had quite a few people. So it's good to be back, and we're back for good. In case there was any question about that, we're
There's no questions.
Yeah, the hiatus is over. We're back to our weekly shenanigans.
Go over to a Star Wars Journey. Lunar Girl's over there.
Yep, they're live now. So do it, and we'll see you guys next week.
Enjoy yourselves.
Peace, bitches.